okay. I love having atheists on.
Okay, and we're back on. All right. Everybody who would like to raise your midichlorian level, we have a new drink for you. It's called midichlorian ale. And Wolfman Mike is going to be producing some midichlorian ale and put it on the market very soon for everyone that wants to raise your midichlorian level. Just drink a lot of this beer, and you will raise your midichlorian levels. All right, midichlorian ale / Wolfman Mike / monstercastleparanormal.com. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'd buy that.
Midichlorian ale. You can't get it anywhere else.
I would be drinking that.
Only available on the KTLK network, thefringe.fm. Midichlorian ale, all right.
That was awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wolfman, you failed to surprise me. That was perfect. You can use that later as a drop.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing. I just did a live drop there.
Oh, we're still off air?
No, we're live. I just did a live drop on the air.
It's hard to tell. Sorry. It's hard to tell.
All right.
So what's up, guys?
We're thinking atheist.
And I will breathe. I will give more breaks so you guys can come in more.
Okay.
Okay.
You must have some questions, Darren.
I do. I was wondering, is there anything that is good about religions, do you believe?
When you leave it.
Okay. What was your model of?
Well,
like, the perfect...
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going
No.
to counterbalance what I believe just to make people feel there's nothing good about religion, in my personal opinion. Yes, there are people who do good things, who are religious. They have the motivation because they read in the Bible, be good to each other, or whatever book. They some golden rule out of whatever they read. But that's because they've read, which is a good notion, but they've done it on their own. And there are a lot of people, such as myself, who are atheist, or maybe perhaps they're deist, which is still spiritual, which is not atheist. We do good too, but we don't go around broadcasting it, and then we don't stick some kind of symbol with it, and then have some congregation. And you can do good just being an atheist, and you can still do good even as a Christian or whatever religion you're in. There's nothing good about religion per se, but there's nothing really bad about it either per se. And in the end, it's just like what you hear about the political arguments throughout the world now. Well, I read the truth is in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament. If homosexuals were supposed to be stoned, correct?
I think.
Am I correct? Stoned to
I
death?
don't know about that. I'm not going to agree or disagree.
That you were not supposed to tolerate homosexuals. Right? For sure.
I'd like to see that in the Bible to believe that. I don't know about that one.
No. I used to be a deacon in my father's church.
Okay.
I read the Bible a lot. That's one of the
Okay.
things. There are a lot of people you're supposed to stone from adulteress, and notice this adulteress, the woman.
Stoning is a terrible way of death,
Yes.
man. It's brutal.
But so what I'm doing is answering the question here. So what I'm saying is, now that's in the Bible or in the Torah. So now, is that inherently bad as a religion, or is it because people choose to interpret something they read in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah or whatever other literature?
Can you
and they choose
imagine?
to act on it in such a way. It
but
depends on the people.
Think about this. Can you imagine trying to govern a people that are willing to throw stones at their children and bludgeon them to death? The community gathering around and actually throwing stones at this one person, and all in fury, and just killing the person, and then walking away and thinking they did something for God.
Did you guys hear about the gay couple in Thailand last week? There's like a 24-year-old and a 21-year-old that were having a relationship, and they had to have 100 lashes of the cane.
Yeah, well, anyways,
it's horrible.
what I'm trying to say is that the people back then had a different moral code than we do now. So,
and they weren't very educated about
the Bible back then was
things.
written for people with that mentality. Now, we don't stone people anymore, so...
Joseph, what would your model of the perfect world be? Like, if 95% of people believed what you did, how would you see the world at that point? How do you think it would be?
Well, and I understand you're just being hypothetical. To me,
Yes.
the quote-unquote perfect world would be, you would think I would say everyone is an atheist. So that could be one of them. But in the perfect world, people would accept us, atheists, for who we are and not have to have laws where you cannot be in office in the White House. You couldn't even be in the White House. You couldn't be in Congress as an atheist.
What?
I think some.
Are you serious?
I think they've changed some of that recently. I'm no expert on, but I heard or read about that. But the perfect world would be.
Yeah, how are we going to get you to swear on the
where
Bible?
We atheists are accepted
That's right.
amongst religious people, but also we just live in unison. I mean, I don't want religion. Okay, my wife is Christian. Everyone, okay. So obviously, and we've been married for over 6.5 years, close to 7 now. So obviously, I don't hate Christians. Okay, the perfect world, quote unquote, would be if everyone, including atheists, with religious people and other faiths, we just live together. It doesn't mean that you guys have to become atheists like me for it to be a perfect world. I said that, to me, there's something wrong with me.
No,
but I'm accepting
I think
of people
you're right.
with the religion.
So
I would like with it.
I would like to just imagine a world, a humanistic world where we take care of each other, but there is no religion. What would that be like?
Well, it's you. Okay, here's a practical example of what it could be like. Stem cell research. I remember reading this like I guess close to 20 years. No, actually over 20 years ago now. I remember when stem cell research really started to blast off 20-something years ago. And remember the guy who cloned Dolly the sheep? I believe he was Scottish, I think, if I remember correctly. It's been years since I read about it. But anyway, well, he had to leave the United States and other people to conduct stem cell research. And that's because a lot of, and I really need to do a better job of researching some of the, but I didn't expect to talk about this stuff, to be honest with you, because I read about it years ago and talked about it. I'd forgotten all about it. But because of so many religious objections, because it's the thing about abortions, because there's this, people think that people are aborting fetuses so they can do stem cell research. Now, as I understand, if I remember correctly, some of the research was from discarded embryos or fetus during abortions, but it wasn't that they went around and killed I'll use the word aborted fetuses or embryos in order to do a stem cell research. That's not why. But because of the religious objections, a lot of scientists who are in the field of stem cell research, they had to, frankly, most of them went to Europe. And because of the now there's 20 years later, there is a lot of more advances in stem cell research. And when you know that basically a cell can become, long story short, a cell starts off with a clean slate. If you give it the right message, if you will, that cell can turn into an ear when you form as you know, from the embryo to, you know, fetus, or it can form into a nose. It can, you know, your eyes. There are certain DNA, you know, cells that are formed for certain parts of the bodies of the organ that make human beings. And
that mouse that had an ear that grew on its back.
Right. But the advances that could help with a lot of our people with their medical advances. But we're stymieing ourselves because of a lot of religious objections. And that's okay that people don't want to, if they don't want a blood transfusion because they're Jehovah's Witness, I'm okay with that. But making laws to reflect your personal religious belief, that actually, that I think we talked about this the last time I was on, Mike, Wolfman Mike. It's called the Establishment Clause, for the United States, where Congress shall not establish a religion. That's the first part of that clause.
Oh, but you have to swear. Wait a minute. You can't establish wait a minute. But you got to swear on the Bible when you're in court. Does that make any sense?
Bingo.
Does that make any sense at all?
You hit the nail on the head. And the first part of the clause is A and B. Part A, Congress shall make no establishment of religion, comma, or whatever. And then there's the other half of it. A lot of people take.
Well, you know, it's contradictory.
And nor should Congress infringe upon people to practice their religion. That's a paraphrase.
Okay,
so in other words,
okay. So, but yet you have to swear on a Bible when you go to court. How does that make any sense at all? That's totally contradictory, and what they're really saying is something else. Because when you go to court, you got to swear on a Bible, and that's the Bible of Christian Bible. So no matter what religion you are, they put this thing in front of you and make you put your hand on it and swear on it.
Exactly, and that not only that, but in the U.S. Congress, which I've been to the U.S. Capitol, by the way, and I did some lobbying for environmental situation.
It's hypocritical. That's what I'm trying to say. It's hypocritical.
They've been opening up for prayer besides Christians. They've been more ecumenical, however you pronounce that, where it's different religions. But the point is, that's where a lot of us secularists, that's why you hear a lot of us complaining, because it's in the Constitution, which these conservatives love to talk about. They love the Constitution. But I remember when Ted Cruz was running for president, I heard him actually say it was a myth of the separation of church and state. That's interesting. He's a really smart man, as much as I disagree with him, and I can't stand his politics. He is smart. He knows better, because it is in the Establishment Clause. Congress should not establish a religion, but nor shall it infringe upon people who do practice it. And that's why a lot of us do have objections when they do the swearing in on the or any. It's not just the Christian. And real quick, I said this before the last time I was on. I'm going to say it again. A lot of, and I do mean Christians, fundamentalist Christians. A lot of them think when they hear the word atheist, those who know what it is, because a lot of them don't. I'm learning. They automatically think, oh, that's just code word for I'm not Christian. And everything else is out the door. There was someone I met from New York. Well, she's just outside New York City, one of the boroughs. I won't say where. She was a guest over at my wife and I's house. We were chatting. And I told her that I was an atheist. And she's like, oh, you believe in many gods. I was like, no, that's pantheism.
Can I say something?
You know, again,
hi, Kurt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm a lecturer, guys. I can go on and,
Okay, Kurt Green here,
from
everyone.
Latin,
welcome, Kurt Green.
How do you do?
But a lot
What's
of people don't know.
His name is Joseph. Not
Hello,
Joseph. It's a TH, so Joseph. And,
Joseph.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
So welcome, Kurt Green, everyone. Welcome.
I was thinking about Jehovah's Witness. You know what? In the end, if you think about don't want anybody else's blood in me either. Now, if you think about it, they have that right. But now, if a child has like appendicitis, they'll pray over him and let him die. Now that's wrong. So the authorities should step in then. But I think they had something right. I don't want to have anybody else's blood. If you need, you can go ahead of time and then have your own blood drawn, a week ahead of surgery. But I wouldn't want Wolfman's blood in me. No.
Oh yeah, you would. You gonna get fire in your veins, buddy. Oh
we
yeah,
get drunk immediately.
It's going to be fire and electricity.
No,
You
I
won't
think
even
Jehovah's
imagine
got
what's
that
going
right.
to happen to you then. You get the DNA of the Anunnaki, man. The DNA of the Anunnaki. Oh yeah.
I reject that in Jesus' name right now.
You're gonna become a Nephilim, a
You sound like my mom.
Nephilim. You will.
No, but
I already
really,
think
though.
you
Think
if-
about it.
you
We
know-
all have our own blood. And
How tall are you, Kurt? How tall are you?
6'2".
That's what I figured. You're a pretty tall guy. You got Nephilim blood.
Oh, short. How tall are you? Like what? 5 foot? 5 foot? What?
You may want to
Kurt's got
explain what that is.
Nephilim blood.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, brother.
he is one of them. Is your head shaped kind of conical?
Can I ask Kurt something?
Yeah.
You still there, Kurt? Curtis. I'm sorry, Curtis. You still there, Curtis?
Yeah,
You
Kurt.
still there?
Kurt, are you there? What's going on here?
No, I was going to ask him what really, because I never
I went
asked
on
him
mute.
before.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he wants to ask you a question.
Okay, sure.
What religion and or denomination are you, if you don't mind me asking, Curtis? And if you don't want to say it on, I understand. That's since
Oh
we're
no, I
in
don't
a
care.
discussion about it.
On my show, you heard me tell I'm one-on-one. It's a personal relationship with Christ. Me and him,
Okay.
one-on-one. He and I. But I was brought up First Southern Baptist when I was growing up. But I experienced all the holy rolling and tongue talking, and I went to Catholic church, Baptist church. I've been to the Presbyterian. I've done all of them, but I'm nothing now. Just he and I. That's what I do now. He and
Okay, fair enough.
I need help with
I was just curious where you're coming from. The rolling, I understand. I was raised Pentecostal. I'm atheist now, but I know what it is to be a believer.
No.
The speaking
Why are
in
you
tongues and all
atheist?
that. What's that?
Oh, you're atheist?
Have you been listening to the show, Curtis?
No, I just got on a little while ago.
All right. Well, that's what we're talking about.
I thought you heard me last time I was on. I thought you heard that I was an atheist.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. You
Oh,
don't
that's
believe
okay.
there's
No big deal.
You don't believe in our Creator? Nothing?
I don't believe in the concept of any gods, period.
Wow.
Gods, plural. Not just your Christian God, Curtis.
There
Just
aren't
any
gods.
God.
There's just one God. There's no gods.
Well,
There's God.
that's what you believe, okay. But anyway, yeah. So that I wanted to ask you. Thank you for answering that, Curtis. I was just curious.
Okay. Well,
Joseph,
I had to take care of my doggy.
do you think we're just afraid not to believe?
Could you say that again, please, Darren?
Are we just afraid not to believe?
Yes, I said what I personally believe. Personally speaking, if I may, first I'll speak from my personal perspective. I won't go on too long. When I was a believer, Pentecostal, I basically was, by the time I was 34, around the year 2004, I was pretty much an atheist by then. So I really haven't been an atheist all that long, really, technically speaking, more like 13 years. But I know that some people, when I talk to, it's almost like, I forgot, there's a phrase that a lot of atheists, when we talk about you guys, it's almost like insurance claim that a lot of believers, and I don't mean just Christians, but any religion, but in particular, the three largest ones. Well, not largest, because I should say, Islam and Christianity. It seems like a lot of people, they question if there really is an afterlife and therefore a God. And some people they're not really exactly convinced, but they're afraid for two reasons. A, because they're afraid that, well, if if there is no God, as they would say, if there's no God and no afterlife, well, then that means I just go basically to oblivion and there's nothing after this. That is horrific to think about, but it is death. And so I think some people get scared about that. The second part why I think they kind of, like you said, Darren, more or less scare themselves into their beliefs or their religion is, of course, societal. Going to church or going to temple or going to whatever. I remember I was born Christian, so I know how it works. A lot of people, they go for social reasons. They don't want to be shut out of their families, which didn't quite happen with me when I became an atheist, but I was definitely put on the back burner, so to speak. But my family treats me well. They're still Pentecostal. We disagree, and if things are, we just learn to not talk about certain things, and every now and then a big argument erupts, but then we move on. But yeah, you're right, Darren. I do believe that some people, they suspect that there is no afterlife and there aren't any gods, but they're afraid to face from my perspective as an atheist, the reality there aren't any gods or afterlife, and it's too hard for them to deal with, so they kind of just believe anyway. And of course, the societal part of it is they don't want to be shut out of their families. They don't want to be shut out of jobs, because I've known atheists who've lost their jobs because of it.
And then
so,
you can take it one step further,
you're onto something, Darren.
And other people are terrified of going to hell.
Okay, we got a question.
Like for eternity.
We got a question for you, Darren, from the chat room. What is your opinion on Scientology?
I don't like Scientology, really. I had some cousins that were in it. There's parts of it I kind of like.
Okay.
I like the fact that
keyword for drinking is what tonight also?
this afternoon?
You have to name that as well as your answer for the question.
Why don't we do religion?
I think that's a good one.
Anytime we're talking about religion the whole time. Okay, as
if
soon
you
as
had
you
to
say
pick a favorite religion, which
whenever
religion
we say
would
religion,
you pick, Joseph?
Oh my God!
If you had to have one, what would be your favorite?
Darren, before I answer that, can I ask you why that you specifically don't like Scientology? If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, I understand. I'm just curious why specifically Scientology.
I have something to say.
I saw that documentary about Scientology where they record everybody and then they kind of use it against them. I don't know if that's true, but that's the part I didn't like. I do like the part where they can take a beating and not let it affect them, you know?
You know what's weird?
You can only control yourself. I like that part.
What's weird is that Stabby seems to be...
Hold on, I have to go outside real quick here, guys. I have to go outside.
Okay.
Okay, and it's break time. It's break time anyway, man. It is break time.
I'm outside. Go ahead. Sorry.
It is break time anyways. It is break time. So, anyway, I find it really strange that Stabby's reading my mind, because I was going to put a reggae song on, and he made a comment with a Jamaican accent in the chat room. That's just crazy. And this is the second time it's happened tonight, and it seems like he's reading my mind. I don't get it. How's he doing that? Barrington Levy. Hypocrites, baby.
chap. So you see, I've got to stand up on my feet. I've got to carry on my work. Every man got a talent. I got my talent. I've got to show them what it is all about. I've got to say, Rastafari. All I can see, so many hypocrites. See them, man and man just fighting against their brother. And if I don't make sure that I'm around the right side, I have to beg Jah for forgiveness. If I cook dumpling, John Tom gon' tell me speak. They always think of me and I don't see them. But one thing more I've got to control. Excuse me while I smoke my spliff. So you see, you got a little time to sniff. All I have got is good sensey love to give you, baby. It's just that all I see. I know who else was and me. So many watchy and peeping at me. All I have seen, so many hypocrites is him. Everyone should show the way. No man should never watch my business. You shouldn't do the things to me to see, yeah. I know I meant to understand the earth.
Yeah, oh man, far out. Okay, what's really far out is that okay, I was looking at the songs by Barrington Levy. I saw one called Sensimilia, and I was thinking, oh right, yeah, spark it up, man. And that was the thought in my head. Just when I had that thought in my head, in the chat room, Stabby McHugs writes the exact words in the chat room that I was thinking. I'm not even kidding. I'm going back on it, something about sparking it up.
Can I say something?
That's weird. I just found that really, really weird. And yeah, there was another word before that. Yeah, I know what's going on here, man. Yeah, here it is. Spark it up, man. Like, with an extended man, like a Jamaican accent, possibly. Like, just exactly what I was thinking. And then he wow. I'm not making this up, guys. That's freaking me out. I wouldn't even said anything about sparking
I believe you.
Oh my lord!
That's just too much synchronicity there, man. That's freaky.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
To the your atheist guest, brother.
Yes.
You know, if I did not know my God as I do, and I didn't know a thing, and I would turn the TV on. Now let me finish and don't interrupt. And see the craziness on TV and begging for money and all these, and they all have 8 mansions. And I hear about Jim Jones back in the old day kill 1,000 people drinking cyanide, and I see the you know what I mean, Muslims doing what they do, and I wouldn't want to believe in God either. So I understand.
No, that's not why though.
Coming from. Well, I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from. I see all the craziness. There's like 30. There's like 1,000 denominations, and they all fight against one another and believe different. I've been to a Pentecostal church where the whole preaching been on putting down the Baptist.
Do they ever have fist fights, Kurt? You ever seen a fist fight?
In the old days, my grandma said, in the old days, the Baptists and the Methodists would go out in the barn and argue, and they'd get angry and leave angry.
Did they ever beat each other up?
No.
Shut
up. Probably. Well, it eventually got. What was that? Zombie Land. Remember Zombie Land, where it got so bad that's what happened. It may get that way. I don't know. But if I didn't know God and I saw what I see on TV and 30 denominations and people killing people, hitting people over the head, you got to go up to the front of the church and get hit over the head and then they use rattlesnakes in some churches.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Curtis, because part of my lecture I do at that university.
I don't want to know.
It's called behavior. I call it behavioral atheism. What I mean by that is what you just said, Curtis, and that's a good example. Some people say they're atheists when they experience bad things in their lives. They lose loved ones or something really bad, they lose a job after they prayed and God didn't
get hit in the head,
and then they get mad. And I'm not going to go to church, and cause I'm telling you from experience, from people that I talk with, and they say, I'm an atheist. I stopped going to church, but that's not atheism. That's because it's understandable that some people get upset and then they question their faith. That's just questioning your faith, or you're mad at what you perceive as a God. In my case, for me personally, Curtis specifically, since you asked this, for me, okay, it took me years before I became a full-fledged atheist. I would say that what germinated was education. When I went to University of Nebraska in Lincoln, here in Lincoln, Nebraska, I went to school for the fine arts, which means humanities. Humanities equals science. I studied astrology, or I keep saying that. I studied astronomy, anthropology, sociology, biology, and some other sciences. That germinated, but I didn't become an atheist until I was in my 30s. So for me, it's just logical. For me personally, everyone's different, but for me personally, it is not behavioral atheism. It's not because I experienced something bad or because I see people, what they do in churches, they're hypocritical, and they're being hypocrites, I'm going to become an atheist. I think that's a bad reason to become an atheist, but everyone each their own. It's just, for me personally,
it's not
logical. It's not logical that some being and there are literally thousands of religions on the earth. You guys can't all be right. So how is it that one believes that the creation from the Bible, the book of Genesis, and then all these other religions, they have their tales of how the earth came about and the universe. So, they can't all be right at the same time, right? That's just not logical. So, everyone's got their thing. I'm not criticizing people who do have faith or religion, whatever. I just don't want them to try to legislate their religion on me. That's all I ask. And it is, from the United States anyway. It is constitutional, separation of church and state. That's not to you guys, and hint, to those in the office now. But that's where I'm coming from, Curtis. And I was raised
I understand completely. So I do understand.
So it's not that sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Curtis. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I noticed that you said if I didn't know God either. Well, I was raised Pentecostal. I was very much a believer. I used to fast on my own. I fasted 3 days once with, no water or anything like that. I went to church. I became a deacon in my father's church, and I would go out and witness to people and all this other stuff. But some people
that might have been part of it.
Do you miss it at all?
What's that?
Do you miss having faith? Was it more fun believing, or is it more fun not believing?
Well,
what kind of question is that?
I get what you're saying, Darren.
That's a good one.
For me, it's not really a fun about either way, to be honest with you. I feel more free now as a human being. That as the way I heard it described before, it's almost as if you walk into the store and there's no one minding the store. You're not looking over your shoulder anymore. I'm not worried about what some god might strike me with the lightning or something because I say shit.
Right.
And I'm going to hell because I say shit.
Oh no.
And what about people who murdered people?
Talking on a Sunday afternoon
I'm
about...
classified with people to go to hell because I say shit. I'm using that as one example.
I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to say that.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. Each their own.
You can't say that on Sunday
afternoon.
Just a couple more questions, and you can tell your story. Are you ever amazed that we exist at all? I mean, just with the complexities of this world.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like winning, I think Stabby says, like winning the cosmic lottery, that we're here, alive.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, it is pretty amazing. Like life happens. I mean, just because we don't know, it doesn't. And I said this before last time I was on the air and with you guys. And I'm not going to try to repeat too much of myself, but it's kind of like I use the example just because we. Sorry, somebody with a car. I'm outside right now. Just because we don't understand at the moment doesn't mean there's no logical explanation. Back in the time of Leonardo da Vinci, he had the concept of the fourth sight of flight. Wasn't quite right in his designs, but he had the basic idea. It took, of course, hundreds of years before we learned to fly, with the Wright brothers. And now we're talking about flying in space, okay? Well, it took hundreds of years, but we didn't know at the time. We don't know now, the best that scientists can figure from the Big Bang, and they're able to use scientific methods, and it's basically based on Doppler shift, red shift and blue shift. Red shift, the stars and everything is moving away from you. Blue shift, things are moving close to you. And everything is red shift. That's how they can tell that the universe is expanding. That's how astronomers are able to do that, because that means stars and the galaxies and other astronomical bodies are shifting, or not shifting, but they're moving away from each other. But again, not to get too much into the weeds of science, but that's, I am amazed that we're here, but that doesn't therefore mean, must be a God that created it.
Right.
I don't know how it happened, but
just a lot of time and a lot of...
To me, it'd be more remarkable that there was some being that was just hanging around in, well, we can't say the universe, because if he created the universe, then what the hell was around? And all of a sudden, he and it's usually he just decides to create the universe out of nowhere, and now we're here, and to what purpose? And to me, that's just not congruent.
No, I hear you.
Are you all right, man? Joe, are you all right? Joe Seth?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
We're not pissing you off, are we?
Could you say it again, please?
We're not pissing you off, are we?
Oh no! I'm just when it comes down to the
because
subject, last time,
I know we're coming at you with all kinds of.
We didn't talk about religion quite as much. I'm just very passionate about the issue of religion and atheism. That's all.
It's got to be hard. No, it's true. It's got to be hard being an atheist like that. I think it's got to be hard because it's such an opposing view to everyone else's that. It's got to be difficult to withhold that and stand your ground. It's very different. Like for us like me, I have spiritual beliefs. I believe in Mother Gaia. I believe the sun is sentient. I believe the earth is sentient. I think there's some kind of cosmic consciousness. I don't call it God or anything like that, but I do believe in something. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to just not. Do you think when you die that you're done and you just fizzle out and that's it? And my brother is the same way as you. He's an atheist as well. I find it very difficult. The same way
as you, that's not atheism, though. Because what you're describing, Michael, Mike, is I'm laughing because we talked about how to call you during the break. Because that's more of deist, and deist is another form of deism, like deity. So it's deism basically is a vague notion or a vague belief of some God or gods that created the universe, but yet that said deity does not interject itself into our everyday lives like what we're used to in Christianity. And like this deity or deities created the universe, and they just kind of step back a little bit, and you're kind of more spiritual. So that's kind of more of a deist. A lot of people I hear who say that they're atheists, they talk like that, and they confuse atheism with that. And that is not atheism. That is more of deism. And if people don't like the label of deism, then maybe you could say, I'm not even sure if agnostic is even the right word, because agnosticism is just simply, you just can't know. The literal translation is not being able to know. A lot of people use the label agnosticism or agnostic wrongly.
How do you explain
sitting on the fence?
Okay, how do you explain these people in hospitals that are clinically dead, and they've done experiments where they put pictures up in the ceiling or in the rooftop or something, and they go up there with their out of body experience when they're dead, and look at that picture and then come back to life and then explain what the picture is, and there's no way that they could have known that.
Well, my response to that is, first and foremost, I always would have to read or see the case itself. So until I see or research it myself, so that's just kind of a given right there. Secondly, well, it's possible you kind of the first words out of your mouth was clinically. It's possible that they were never actually dead and their eyes were just partially open, and there is a subconscious. It's possible they saw that item on the ceiling, and when they woke up, the brain brought it back up to their memory. So again, logical. It's just if we dig a little deeper, do a little bit more critical thinking.
To me, logic. Like the logical thinking to me.
Hello, can I say something?
Hang on, one more thing from me.
Okay.
One more thing from me. Our sun is flying through the galaxy and the universe, flying through, and how do you explain that we don't run into things? Like, don't you think that sun is kind of guiding us in a way that we don't run into shit? Flying through space like that?
I don't think it's guiding us. It's just, I mean, there's a reason why I'm not trying to be funny here, seriously, Michael. There's a reason why they call it space, because like Alpha, or the Andromeda system, the closest, major galaxy, there are like minor galaxies too close to us, but the Andromeda is the largest. It's something like 2.5 million light years, 2.5 million light years from our galaxy. Light years. Light travels something like 100.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of particles. There's all kinds of microparticles and micrometeors and stuff like that, and gases and all kinds of things we can encounter in space that's in between stuff.
But I was going to say that part too, Michael. Actually, we do run into things. That's why the dinosaurs aren't here.
Okay.
Approximately 66 million years ago, it does happen. Well, where's the protection there?
I guess you're right on that one. Okay.
So,
I believe we got Dave Cruz with us.
I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying, if we take the time,
Mike, I'm here.
Right on, brother.
Okay, Curtis wanted to say something, I believe. If that's
okay.
no, Michael.
Go ahead. I don't have nothing to say.
No, really. I'd like to hear what you wanted to say.
So much now. Where do I start?
From the beginning.
One thing I'll say that when you were talking about the people in the hospital and they see in the roof and the pictures or whatever, my brother one day out here, right in the same house, he choked me. We were horseplay, and he choked me so bad that I went under and I saw a light, not a bright light, just a light, and all about 20 or 30 people in my family praying. They were all praying different prayers, but I saw them. I was dead, and they prayed me back, and that's forever. I think about that every day, by the way. So I know I was right there on the verge of death. Scotty, he's dead now. He killed himself, but he did that to me.
Sorry.
Now I get to tell you, but that was true, and that let me know. And I knew them in that the atmosphere. And I can't just tell you when you think about it where you're sitting. The atmosphere, the moment, the day, the year, him looking at me, him choking me, going under, seeing all your greats and knowing them instinctively, like the love for your mother. and knowing it, and then they pray, all of them praying, and they prayed me back, and I came back, cried, I ran into the phone, oh, Scotty, and I ran and called my Mammy Thelma, called my grandma, Scotty just almost killed me, I saw my grandparents. I remember all that day so vivid, but that happened. That let me know, amongst other things, why are snowflakes perfect shapes? Why?
Well, that's
just
to do
a
with the way
fluke
things
of nature,
radiate out.
just a fluke.
In vacuum,
fluke of
they
nature.
tested that in the International Space Station.
Everybody Googles snowflakes.
Things radiate without gravity. So it tends
you tell me there's not a God or a being or somebody in control that make you Google snowflake. Every one is different. All the snow, all over the earth, different. And I'll be quiet now.
No, you're fine. You don't have to be quiet.
I bet all the grains of sand are different too.
Go ahead, Darren. You please go ahead.
Actually, no. Dave's here with a question from Beyond the Strange.
Oh, okay.
Dave?
Hey, Mike.
How you doing, brother?
Thanks for having me on.
Oh,
Good.
Awesome to have you. We're privileged.
Very interesting. I feel privileged. Hey, hi, Kurt. Hey, Darren.
Hey.
I'm sorry, guys. I just tuned in. I didn't get your name.
It's Joseph.
Oh, Joseph.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
It looks like Joseph, but it has a TH instead of a PH. So Joseph.
Joseph. That's a cool name.
Thank you.
So, are we talking about like after death?
Yeah.
Philosophies or just beliefs or?
Yeah, we're talking
basically anything.
Yeah.
He is an atheist, and I'm trying to present evidence of the otherwise.
How would you?
Well, I mean, look at the paranormal. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions about all the weird things that are happening in this world as we speak. I mean, it's to me that tells me a lot. I mean, I grew up in a religious background, and I'm pretty much a reformed. Apostolic Assembly of God, whatever you want to call it, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in something.
We got quite a few in there in Lincoln, Nebraska. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
No, and I'm just saying that I think it's important that we all have something to believe in. I mean, some people choose to believe in themselves, and they believe that they can manifest, God within themselves.
Well, when you say believe in something, do you mean like as in, like, I believe you can do whatever you want to do, you can go to school, you can achieve to be a doctor, and that kind of belief, or do you mean like you have to believe in something in the supernatural? I'm not sure in what context you mean by that.
I think for every individual it's different, and it's up to them.
Well,
I don't know if that. I don't know if that helps.
I don't believe. I just. I'm guessing you mean the context of supernatural is my guess.
Okay, can you?
Now, if you want to say that you like my daughters, like I believe in my daughters that they can achieve what they want to. Those vague aphorisms that we tend to say, which I do, which is true. I do believe in. I believe in my wife that she's very intelligent. I believe in people like that, but like a supernatural belief, I don't. And I'm not going to just to. It's because it just doesn't make any sense. I've been there. It's not like I was raised atheist and I never experienced religion. Everyone, I was raised Pentecostal, and plus I visited other denominations within Christianity. Even when I was in New York City with my family, we in Harlem we visited a Baptist church out there, and here in Lincoln, Nebraska, visited St. Mary's in downtown Lincoln, Nebraska, Catholic. And other Pentecostal. So it's not like I haven't had any exposure to it.
Okay, I want to know. What I want to know, Joseph, can you hear me? What I want to know is if you've had any paranormal experiences, like out of body experiences, like a near death experience, like Kurt's, or anything like that, where
I have not. Absolutely,
Okay.
I have not. But the closest thing, you and I talked about that last time, was my brother and I were really young, like about 10.
You've never read someone else's thoughts?
Dragging their feet.
What about when reading someone's thoughts? Something simple like just you two people saying the same word at the same time, and you wonder how the hell does that happen?
That's just coincidence.
I don't think so. There's no such thing as coincidence. If you apply it to a specific situation, like let's say my wife and I were talking about a movie and we happen to say Vin Diesel at the same time. Well, okay, that's different.
I'm just using
that's
way
Jesus, right there.
Yeah, but if that's way okay. I'm talking about like what happened to me and Stabby in the chat room on this show now. That's way off topic. Has nothing to do with anything we were talking about. And
I think it's just
what I was thinking. He wrote it at the same time I was thinking it.
I just honestly think it's just a coincidence.
That can't be a coincidence. The chances of that are 1,000,000 billion to 1.
All right. What about
Does he ever wake up and there's a digital clock like 111 or 222 or 333?
Yeah.
Do you ever wake up in your clock like that?
1122. Yeah.
I've also waken up,
444.
Curtis.
When it
says
question,
2 o'clock. I've woken
That's
up
God.
when it says
that is your Father talking to you.
I've seen clocks say different things. I've heard it. I know what you're talking about, guys. I'm not making fun of you. I've heard about the 111, or excuse me, the 1111.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's God talking to him.
Well, you shouldn't wake up at 3:33 and look at something's.
I was just, I was
deeper there.
Necessarily mean
deeper
God.
something going on. Deeper.
I think Stabby has magic
now, Darren,
powers.
were you trying to say something, Darren, or?
What's that?
I thought I heard
Darren.
I thought I heard you trying to say something. Maybe.
I think Dave.
I kind of want to hear. Where we could go in the future if we could just shed our religious beliefs. What you think we could do? What would the world be like?
I do think we would be more advanced, scientifically speaking. And I already used the real life example of stem cell research, because a lot of times religion is, I personally think, religion/faith, I think a lot of times it's an Achilles heel of humanity that we could have advanced more. Some people were opposed to, of course, like I said, stem cell research, and some people are opposed to other, blood transfusions for certain religions, but everyone has their right to believe. But I think we'd be more scientifically advanced. I think racism would not be so prevalent. It would still be around, but not as much, because if you're open to scientific process and scientific method and seeing how things really are, it tends to make you more open-minded. And I personally think we would be more advanced. But I suppose one can also look at other societies that are more secular. That's to say, have less religion in it, and in real life, and compare it to more religious countries or states in the United States. You can or provinces in your guys' Providence. Wherever. What do you guys call it in Canada? Is it Providence?
Oh yeah, provinces. Yeah, we're up for a break here, man.
Excuse me, sorry.
We're up for a break, guys. And all right,
sign you out.
it's break time. We're gonna take a little break for everybody right now. All right.
Wolfman, you literally had ghosts calling on a ghost box, but you're going to lose a lot of credibility. Lake Monster gobble you up in one fucking bite. I'm calling you out, my friend. You were scared of the girl from Texas. Well, I sure wouldn't be sitting there admiring the rippling, glistening fucking muscles of the fucking marsupial. She was hairier than this ass punch.
Oh my goodness!
Who in the world are you? Hollering like that, angry as life. Do your neighbors hear you? You must live in the forest for you to yell that loud. The Monster Castle. Paranormal Radio. on the phone.
Oh, come on.
The head as a deacon, didn't you? You did too. We're going to go there. That's all I'll say thus far.
How about
we'll
we? How about?
later.
I think that's a good
Don't
one, Curtis.
answer.
If
Don't
that's
answer
okay
now.
with Michael,
We'll
maybe we should wait until we're back on the air. How about
No,
that? I do
we're
like
back.
that question.
We are back on the air.
Oh
no!
Because it's just too good.
Shalom.
It's
Salam.
just too good. I put it back on.
My goodness. Brother, Joe, right? Joe.
Yeah, Joseph, but you can call me Joe if you want.
Oh, Joseph. Yeah. So our little Baptist church potluck on Sunday, fried chicken, 3 different kinds, and egg salad sandwich, whatever they had, all the good stuff. Chicken and dumplings, good time. Bringing in the sheaves, I used to think they were saying bringing in the sheets, like bringing in the towels, bringing in the...
But pretty much.
But anyway, so our...
It's shepherding. That's what that was a reference to.
Great little old church, been, going on for 50 years. And then that TV preaching got going on, that Paul and Jan, and they started clapping and hitting people over the head and
bonking people,
talking in tongues, blah, 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 blah. And that movement hit our church, our little old church, and it's like a cancer. It crept in to our church, and it just really, and our church went vacant.
They bonked people.
5. And now
they bonked people in the head.
Now those big Pentecostals, they're like big warehouse churches.
We'll be back in a second.
We destroy the government. We're destroying time. No more problems on the way. I'm through, doctor. We don't need your kind. The other ones, ugly ones, stupid boys, wrong ones. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all the one and one are all the one and one are all. 6 is having problems, adjusting to his clone status. All day long we hear him crying so loud. I just wanna be myself. I just wanna be myself. I just wanna be myself. Be myself. Be myself. I'm all alone, so are we all. We destroy the government. Destroy time. No more problems on the way. Doctor, we don't need your kind. The other ones, ugly ones, stupid boys, wrong ones. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all the one and one are all the one and one are all. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all are one and one are all are one and one are all.
Gonna keep on barking.
What happened?
Are we back live?
Yeah, what? We are.
Hey.
Are we back on?
Doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
so my point was
Hi.
him being Pentecostal
Hello.
and used to be
Go ahead,
Pentecostal.
Curtis. It was a good,
And had
great question you had.
and he had to
Let's let him answer.
Well, I didn't ask a question yet. I was just going to say real quick, a wrap up. But then I'll ask. But did you have to? Yeah. Did you have to hit people over the head and slay them and make them shake on the ground as a deacon?
No. No.
No. Well, okay. Did that happen? No, other people did, right?
Oh, okay. No, I didn't do that. Because I mentioned earlier I was a deacon at my father's Pentecostal church. Okay. Back in around it's 1904, 1909 or something, I forgot exactly. The House of Azusa and Los Angeles, there's a movement, what we call the charismatic movement. That's the kind of the umbrella movement. From that, you get the Pentecostals, Assemblies of God, I believe, and other similar fundamental Christians of the charismatic nature. Some of them kind of dip into a little bit of the mysticism. Now, with my dad's church, because my parents came from Birmingham, Alabama, and they moved up here to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was born here a year later. I've noticed, and what you're making reference to, Curtis, and some people may not know because a lot of people don't visit black churches who are not from that community. A lot of people, and maybe if you channel surf, you'll see this, or perhaps maybe you did visit a black church, and some white churches too, by the way, that are Pentecostal or other fundamentalists. You hear them, as you're saying, Curtis, babble, like hallelujah, about hashababa, they're making some phonetic noises that sounds like language. Now, that's from the book of Acts. I'm going to go around the Bible for you. If you, in the second chapter, just read the whole chapter. It's not that long. The day of Pentecost, the Holy Ghost was given. Jesus was sitting with the 12 disciples, and then they started speaking other language. Now, here's the thing about it: if you read that carefully, they actually list the cultures, the countries, and I think Asia was even mentioned. It wasn't that they were just babbling. They actually were, according to the book of Acts, they were actually speaking other languages. That's where the speaking in tongues the reference came from. That is how you ever really see that read from the Bible. You don't read that anymore. But somehow, and this I had to get some experts on this one. Somehow, a lot of denominations hooked on that, including my dad's church from the South, American South, in Birmingham, Alabama. And somehow they latched onto that one chapter, and then they focused the whole doctrine as a church around it. And so that's where you get all these people doing the babbling, as you call it, Curtis, because it's the book of Acts, and that's the day where God basically downloaded himself into the human beings. Instead of just the laws on some clay tablets in the Jewish faith, we're now uploading the faith of God himself into us. That's basically, and it was symbolism, supposedly.
Yes.
And you guys still there?
Yes.
You guys still there?
We're all clones, man. We're all clones.
You could be a preacher.
Okay, so I was getting a call and I had to hang up. I'm sorry.
No,
so
great stuff. Keep going.
That's basically what it's called, speaking in tongues amongst Pentecostals. Other people, they'll call it something else. But that's that's the gist of it, of why you hear a lot of fundamentalist Christians when they do that. And it basically started in Los Angeles in the early 1900s.
Yeah, and it's just like Babel. Like the word Babel actually goes back to...
Exactly.
It's glossalia, that's what it's called.
To Babel, the Tower of Babel. And it's a lot of Babel.
Right.
Well, when Peter spoke to the crowd, I know what you're talking about in Acts 2. He spoke to the crowd. Now, Peter spoke his own language, but there were, I don't know all the languages, we would say today, there were German, there were Spanish, there were Vietnamese or Chinese, all out in the audience. And as Peter spoke his own language, they understood him in their language. That it was like right that moment that the Lord reversed the Tower of Babel there, where everybody understood. Well, he didn't have to blah, 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 blah to them. He spoke his own language, Peter did. And they, with all the different languages in the audience, knew what he was saying. It was just a magical time.
It's not that simple, because I remember my late father, he was the pastor of the church. He actually, like you, Curtis, even as a Pentecostal pastor, my father didn't believe in that. which was surprising to me. You think he would. But to him, he saw it like, no, those are not real languages. They're just making gibberish and, frankly, raising money. That's how my late father used to see it. My mother, she disagreed with him. She's still around. She's still here. And she still sees it that, a person can't go to heaven. At some point, you're going to have to speak in tongues as she sees it.
That they call it praying in the Spirit, where it's between you and God. They call it praying in the blah, 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 and it does that. But my praying in the Spirit with my Lord, I'm one-on-one with my Lord, where I don't belong to any church. It's He and I personal. But what He's let me know, what praying in the Spirit, where it's one-on-one with my Lord, is when I pray silently. I can pray like right now on a 3, 2, 1. I just prayed to my Lord. You have no idea what I prayed in my mind. When you pray silently, when you're laying at night, asleep, and nobody, you try being silent for a while. All the bullies will come up to you and say, "Hey, what?" I remember that. You praying, talking to your Lord in your spirit, just speaking your mind. He hear every word. You don't have to say a word out of your mouth for my Lord to communicate with you. That's praying in the Spirit, not babbling, but one-on-one.
Well, of course, a lot of other Christians will disagree with you on that.
Not even Satan knows. You pray out loud, Satan knows what you're praying.
That's part of the problem from my perspective as an atheist. I still remember when I was protesting with other fellow secular humanists, like 12 years ago, there's this one guy downtown Lincoln, Nebraska. He had, I'm not going to use the words, it was very derogatory towards the LGBT community. And we were protesting him because the church used to go to this particular place downtown. And he was talking to me, and then there's this one Catholic lady, he heard him talking to me. She heard him talking to me, and then she interjected herself, and she was saying, well, I, as a Catholic, disagree with you, and, he was Protestant. And then they started arguing between each other. And here I am, the atheist, looking at these two. They're both Christians, and they couldn't agree about I forgot exactly what the issue was, but the point is this, and it was an important issue. It wasn't like a small issue like how many times you should have church. I mean, it was like one of those doctrinal questions. And it's not just Christians. All religions do this, okay? So I'm not picking on Christians. It's just this actually did happen. So I'm using Christianity because it really happened. So if a lot of people in whatever religion it is, you have the Sunnis versus the Shiites. You have the Protestants versus the Catholics. You have I can't think of the other ones right now, but it seems like all these different sects and different religions.
Well,
and they branch off, and then one, like for instance, within Christianity, a lot of Christians still don't see Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons as Christians. To me, as an atheist, they're still Christians. They make reference to Jesus Christ. Now they have a more recent history, Joseph Smith, the 1800s and whatnot. So, but a lot of Christians don't even consider Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't even agree amongst themselves, but yet you guys have the truth, and you're going to get on me and us atheists and tell us we're wrong, we're going to hell, but you guys can't agree whether or not baptism is essential to eternal life. Some do, and some don't.
That was seared in my mind all my childhood. Oh, the Mormons and the watch out, all my life, seared. They're going to die and go to hell.
You guys want a baptism? You'll need a baptism? Who needs a baptism? It's Father Guido's here now.
Oh, Father Guido.
It's all right. How you doing? Yeah.
Are you going to baptize them? You did an alien.
Okay? We can baptize anyone that needs a baptism.
No,
just
thank
to
you.
come
I
on up.
already been baptized, Father Guido. No, thank you. I don't want to drown anymore.
Oh, come on. Get in the water. Come on. Get your head in there. Come on. Get your head. Get it down in there. Get it down in there. Stick your head in the water. Come on. You're baptized. Hey, Jesus Christ, man. Get in the water. Hey, I gotta pull on your skin like that and get you in there. Get in the water. Baptize. All right, that's it.
Father Guido,
we dunk all the way under.
Now I believe.
You believe it now?
No.
You dunk all your body under.
You feel different, Joseph?
Baptists dunk all the way under.
I had to baptize him.
That is seriously another issue. in my dad's church.
Sprinkle.
Whether or not you immerse or you sprinkle. That's another major issue that Christians disagree
my
on.
mammy, Thelma, grandma, she said when it would start to sprinkle, hurry, get inside, you'll turn into a Methodist. This is an old time.
My wife is a Methodist, by the way. I'm just saying. I don't know if she appreciates that or not, but she's gone.
That's worth fighting.
Anyway,
That's it. Now you're in trouble.
If you're going to get baptized, you want to go all the way under and, wobble a little bit under the water.
How do you guys feel about that? Well, you guys aren't really, hardcore Christians, so maybe you guys are the wrong crowd to ask.
Well, actually, Kurt is. Me, I'm just spiritualist.
Okay.
I have my own beliefs.
Then always, anytime they get out of the water and the preacher bring them up, we sing "Up from the Grave."
Actually, you know what? What I want to ask you about is mind over matter. What do you think about mind over matter? About if I don't mind, you don't matter. It doesn't matter. If I don't mind, it doesn't matter. No, actually, that works into it too. If I don't mind, it doesn't matter. But still, mind over matter. How you can,
twice,
you can actually manifest a thought. Your thoughts manifest, and what about thoughts having material weight?
I don't subscribe to that. But the closest thing to that, and it's scientifically proven, and this is actually from the medical field. Everyone's heard of this by now. Of course, I'm forgetting the word. Well, they did placebo tests, and where they did tests where it's this sugar pill, and then there's the real medicine, and some people they take the sugar pill, the fake, and they manifest the same. They think they're sick, so they exhibit symptoms that they're sick, but they're not really sick. But that's
placebo.
Biological, and that makes sense. You would think, but that's not the same with what you're talking about, and I understand what you're saying. But my point, Michael, is that's the closest thing to mind over matter, and I was trying to remember the word I was trying to say. Of course, I forgot. But anyway, but psychosomatic. That's the word I'm trying to say. It's known as psychosomatic.
Wow.
When you make yourself feel sick because you think about it, you worry about it so much.
Or you make yourself feel better.
Psychology.
No. I'm talking about actually physical manifestations.
I'm aware of that we have, but otherwise, I personally do not subscribe to matter itself, or we manifest something just by thinking it. I've not seen any proof of it. I haven't read about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't experienced it, and therefore I'm not going to believe it. Now if someone's actually able to document this really happening, or if I run across it, then maybe I'll come up with. Then maybe I will see it that way. It's just I don't see any proof of it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I've seen proof of it. I have seen proof of it.
I think deep down, you still believe in your Lord. I really do.
Just
way deep down.
It's funny that I cannot think. I cannot think of
any God than you. I've never heard a better preacher than you.
I actually can't think of an example at the moment. So you got me dumbfounded, but I do have probably proof of that. What I was talking about. I just can't think of it right now off the top of my head. I don't know why. But yeah, mind over matter. Yeah, okay, I got one. Okay. How about electricity flowing from my fingertips, like the Dark Lord from Star Wars? How did I do that? I had witnesses. I flew someone across the room.
Do we have such thing?
I threw someone across the room. I have witnesses. I melted.
Oh, no.
I melted the wiring from the freezer all the way to the fuse box. Everything melted.
Now that's black magic. Now that's the opposite. That's the devil.
No, it isn't, Kurt.
I'm kidding, bro.
It's just electricity, and I felt like I was doing something scientific when I did it.
Jesus would not
tap it into the dark side.
Would not
actually felt like I was doing something scientifically when I did it. It was scientific.
Do you have a Ouija board, bro?
No, I first started by going across this carpet that had static in it. And it was one of those carpets that you could go across and with your feet and get static.
Yes.
But then I was able to feel the static going into my body and sit there and meditate and just pull static out of the air. And then charge myself so powerfully that you could see the electricity coming off my fingers. Like,
did you go down the hall up and down and just
No. I just sat there and meditated and I pulled it out of the air. I pulled it out of the air.
We did that as kids. We had the shaggy, burnt orange full shag carpet, and as kids, we'd go around and then touch
static electricity.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing, but I did it. And to me,
Michael,
that's getting close to altering the laws of physics.
Electricity, like Curtis was too. But it sounds like that happens like a fraction of a second. What you're talking about sounds like it happened several seconds, and you had witnesses, and
it was premeditated. It was an experiment.
Okay, all right. I'll have to take your word for it. I wasn't there, so I don't have an explanation for what you experienced. I personally have not experienced that, nor have I seen it.
Okay, we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
That's anecdotal. You can never do. Anecdotes come in. There's a place for anecdotes to kind of put more meat on the bones of empirical data. And there's a time, and all I have is your anecdote, but I consider you a friend, so okay.
I don't know.
Happened.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
that's all I can think of right now. But there's got to. I'll come up with something else. Mind over matter. I'll come up with other ones. That's the first one that came to my head. But I'm just trying to convince you that there is something else.
Well, I mean, you won't be able to convince me. no more than I'll be able to convince you to become an atheist. I'm not. See, that's the thing about atheists. A lot of people. I remember when I sound just like you guys now, to be honest with you. Back in the 90s when I was in my 20s, there was this one. It was at a particular workplace. I won't say where it was. And there was this one lady. I hadn't known her for a few months. She was new to the job. And we started talking one day, and it's like a few months later when she had first started working. I'd say like a business friendly relationship. We were able to acquaintances. But then she didn't say that she was an atheist, but she was like pagan or she just was agnostic, or she didn't believe Jesus Christ is what it was. And back then I was a Christian, uber Christian back then. And I remember I was offended. It's like I didn't say anything to her. I just kind of went quiet, and I never looked at her the same way. I feel bad about it now. But it's just interesting because I was actually offended.
913
Sorry.
is not available.
Hang on a second.
I was actually offended that someone else didn't believe like me. I didn't do anything to her. I didn't curse her. Oh, obviously I didn't curse her out as a Christian. Well, Pentecostal, I should say. Some Christians do curse quite a bit, quite frankly. But I just find it interesting. And looking back now, I can't believe that I had such a mindset that just because she didn't believe like I did, and we had just started working in the same place, and we were kind of like work friends. Not, we didn't hang out or anything. But then I didn't really want to talk to her after that, like I used to. I know that not all believers do that, but my wife told me that years ago. There was this one uber Christian that she was friends with. We're talking like 20 years ago, about the same time period, and she basically stopped. No, she full-fledged stopped hanging with her, and she told my wife back then, just before we knew each other, but she told me about it. It's like that this particular Christian told her, well, you could be a bad influence. We can't be friends anymore.
Yeah.
People are afraid to lose their faith.
If a person feels that vulnerable about their faith, A, you may want to check what you believe in. Apparently, it must not be that strong. B, perhaps your faith is not strong enough in your own faith.
Okay, I think we got a caller.
Trust me, I do not worry about people turning me.
Joseph, I think we have a caller. Caller?
I'm strong in being an atheist. I've been religious. I've been in faith. Religion, faith, are the same to me. I don't care that...
Joseph, I think we have a caller. Caller, yes. You're on the air. Monster Castle Paranormal.
Hi, caller.
Hey, this is Joe. I had to come down out of my evil tower to talk to Joseph.
All right. Right on.
How you doing, Joseph?
Hi. Who is this again?
My name is Joe Root. My name is Joseph.
Joe, okay. Sorry, go ahead, please, Joe.
So you're on the show to talk about secular humanism, right?
That's one of the things, but that is what, I guess, what it's billed at. I didn't see it but anyway, yes.
And so you believe that when your body dies, your consciousness blinks out, right? You're done.
Well, I don't believe it. That's how I see things. I don't see people raising from the dead to say, hey, it's real, guys. You know,
Right.
that's just not happening, okay? So, I don't believe in the afterlife for good reasons. But, yes, go ahead. You want to make a point?
Well, you have never, have you ever, obviously you've never had any experiences of any of this then, right?
And I, quite honestly, to be honest with you, Joe, I don't think anyone has any of these experiences. I think a lot of people say they have.
Oh, my God. So you're calling me a liar. So you're calling me a liar then?
No. I was going to say some people are. I'm sure some people are. But I think also probably the greatest majority believe it. They actually believe what they, and you can't, say la vie. I don't care that they believe that,
Boy, he's a talker.
Go ahead,
Boy,
Joe. I got to let you talk. Sorry.
Well, is your agenda to prove everyone wrong or to get everybody to leave each other alone?
Why would I have an agenda?
Everybody's got an agenda, brother.
To be honest with you, my agenda is to make exposure for my science fiction books and my paranormal books. That's my agenda, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, we need to talk about
That's why I do radio shows like this. I've been doing this for years, Joe.
Right.
I've several interviews. I have no agenda to turn anyone.
Okay, so your agenda is, like you were saying earlier, to just, hey, you leave me alone and I'll leave you alone, right? I mean, why enforce people's beliefs on anybody else? Separation of church and state.
That's the gist of what... last time I checked, I didn't notice any atheists passing laws trying to force people to be atheists. So it's not atheists you have to worry about doing that. That's Christians in the United States, anyway.
I give you that. I don't think it's just Christians. I think there's other religions.
I said in the United States. I said in the United States.
But here's the thing: like I've had my own experiences, right? And
okay, I'm listening.
I'm not. I guess I could be perceived as a liar or somebody who's living a false reality.
I said some people, Joe.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. I agree with you that everybody should leave everybody alone. I hate religion to a certain extent, right? I know what it was designed for, and it backfired on society, right? It really did. But I think that what I want to ask you is how do we get past, because you're obviously an intelligent person, right? How do we get past everybody trying to be right and proving the other person wrong and evolve into a place where we can all just get along?
Oh, we got Ronnie now.
Excellent question, Joe.
I think we are getting along.
That's an excellent question.
I think we proved that we can do that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I don't like to use the word prove, but that's just me. That's just the agnosticism in me. Well, like I said, Joe, as an example, this is, again, anecdotal. My wife she is a Methodist specifically, but she pointed out to me that she wanted me to tell people that she's Christian, born again. She uses the word born again Christian. So, okay, when we first met, going on 8 years ago, we both divorcees, middle-agers. We met at a dance club here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And, when you're middle-aged and divorced, and when you're in the dating scene, you're like, you're too old for this shit. It's like, okay, this is what's going on. I'm an atheist, da-da-da-da-da. And she kind of did the same thing as a Christian. And it's like, okay, if you're open-minded to that, it's like, okay, and we see what happens. And, 8 years later, we're married, for 7.5 years of those 8. So now that's anecdotal, and I see where you're coming from, Joe, and it's. I don't think okay. I'm going to be honest with you, everyone. I am a pessimist by nature. I know it's popular for people to say that they're optimistic and all this other stuff. I am not. I personally look at what's going on in the world, and I already told you about how I felt, disappointed in the human species. Being as religious as we are with all the scientific advancements and we have all, but anyway, that's just one leg of it. Of course, obviously what's going on with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Christian right and all. Yeah, I'm not going to go on too much deep about it. It's like, remember when I just told you a few minutes ago how I felt offended when that one lady at my job 20 years ago, when she said that she was not a Christian? And I didn't do anything to her, but my attitude changed toward her. I can't believe I was like that. Well, on a global level, that's what we have going on. We have a lot of people, specifically when they're atheists, but even when they're just of a different belief, even when they do believe things, we just can't seem to tolerate each other's fucking differences. And it's just irritating that, look, my wife and I are doing it. She's Christian, I'm an atheist. We didn't, and our marriage has never been on shaky grounds before because of that. Now, mind you, some Christians think that other Christians should not marry outside the religion. That's their prerogative. But it's also the prerogative of those Christians.
I got to jump in here.
Okay.
Joseph, it's bottom of the hour.
Yes,
I got to jump in here, buddy. My brother Rob is asking for your other Twitter handle, and he's an atheist too, and he's listening to you right now.
You've got some new fans.
Yeah, buddy.
We also have Ronnie here.
What did you say, Darren?
Hey.
I said you have some new fans in Twitter, and Ronnie has joined the conversation.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to come back with Ronnie and Joe
real quick,
after this break.
Real quick,
but we're having a break right now, folks. All right.
Oh, okay.
Dig it.
Hold
And
on,
this is our last break before last half hour in the show. Monster Castle Paranormal Afternoon Radio. KTLK, thefringe.fm.
Can you dig it? Fantastic. It's your invitation to avoid the nauseation, frustration, desolation, mutilation, degradation.
It's final exam,
like to rock,
and that means two
and
things.
This is a
The library is
donation
intact,
station.
and I'll...
Yeah, baby. Go to monstercastleparanormal.com and donate today. Keep us rocking, man.
Okay.
Don't forget about Ronnie.
All right.
I'm hanging tight.
Oh yeah, can you dig it? Monster Castle Paranormal Radio. And we're back. I believe Joe had a question, and we have Ronnie here. So maybe you could address Joe's question.
It was kind of the same one we had earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well. Yeah. We addressed that earlier.
Okay. Was it a Ronnie or?
Well, okay. Ronnie's here now, so let's have Ronnie come on and ask a question then.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Hey, I hear a lot about what you're saying there, and and I even joined the Zeitgeist movement. Have you ever heard of that?
The Zeitgeist movement?
Yeah.
I heard of it, but I don't know can you educate me on it?
Yeah, it's kind of a logical thinking movement, and they kind of put down religion, as being against we're a modern society, but we don't live like a modern society. In other words, it's ridiculous for all of us to have cars when if everybody wanted to drive it once, there wouldn't be enough roads. So we waste so much of the Earth's resources duplicating stuff instead of sharing it, and the whole monetary system would just be thrown out in the Zeitgeist world.
I remember heard about it years, or I read about it, something like that. I don't know much, but I learned more about it from you. I have heard of it before. Okay, go ahead, please, Joe. What else did you want to say?
This is Ronnie.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Ronnie. Sorry, that was the other guy. Ronnie. Sorry, Ronnie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Darren.
But
Go ahead, Ronnie. I'm sorry.
Basically, a lot of what the Zeitgeist movement is about is about doing away with the monetary system and everybody being of service to each other and putting human beings above everything else, and instead of putting money above everything else, and putting education. And they were talking about everybody could work a 20-hour week, and we could still accomplish the things that we have now. You could get everything that you have now, and you wouldn't have to pay you wouldn't have any bills. And the way something like that would start would be they'd have a big banquet, and all the richest people in the world would get trophies for winning at the human game, which is coming to an end. And the first thing they would do it with is get rid of the monetary system. And everybody would keep their job and then train other people. And they said, like, everybody could have everything they have now, work about 20 hours a week, and still live like they did. And there wouldn't be any starvation anywhere.
That's right. I agree with that.
2 words for you, Ronnie. 2 words for you. And why that? I agree.
Peter
with some
Joseph
of that,
is the guy who started the movement.
I always thought of that too myself. That sounds so good.
2 words for you, real quick here, and because I know we're kind of running up on end of the show real quick here. 2 words for you in the United States, okay? Because you guys are coming out of Canada, Michael. Okay, utopia would be the worst most people will use for you, Ronnie. And secondly, can you say Bernie Sanders? When it comes down to like the work, kind of the work area, that's not quite how Bernie Sanders was talking about per se. But basically, this now you can get into the. I'm not going to go into the details at all about about the election and all this other stuff about Russia and Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote, but Trump did win the Electoral College. That's the reality, okay? For whatever reasons.
Yeah.
But this is my point. In the United States, we are not there, brother. We are far from there. People think right now that because Bernie Sanders came through Lincoln, Nebraska. He went to what's called the Lead Center, and I went to go see him. I actually was for Hillary Clinton, still am. But anyway, the line was ridiculous. It was so long. Anyway, and the kids, it was almost like a religion the way they latched on to Bernie Sanders. And a lot of those people, a lot of people in the United States reject that notion. They think these kids are lazy. They think They think that we're not working hard enough, and this country, I guess, certain portions in red states for sure. There are certain parts of the United States they're just not for that, Ronnie. They will never be for that. And
the rich people have the most to lose, you know, and they're the ones in the power.
Could you say that?
That's why it would take a total crash to get there. I think we'd have to rebuild from the ground up.
Well, you know what? There are alternatives. You know, there's now you can. I was for a time joined up with this movement, but I don't think it's realistic.
Okay,
it gets into like.
I gotta fill you in. I gotta fill you in on Ronnie Joseph.
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard him before, but Ronnie's an experiencer of the paranormal and the strange. He has multiple experiences you could ask him about, including Bigfoot experiences, UFO experiences, goblin-like creatures entering his room while he's sleeping, and abduction. Multiple family sightings and all kinds of things. So
okay,
yeah,
Ronnie, can you?
I've seen some stuff out there. I've seen some stuff. So I'd like
to hook up with you on social media. Look up Joseph Moore and follow me if you would please on Twitter. Joseph Moore, and if you can follow me, and JOSETH and then Moore MOORE on Twitter now, and please follow me and I'll follow you back, and we'll try to communicate that way, okay? Because we're hitting the show's almost done here.
Yeah, his stories are. You could always listen to when he was on our show. Those are some of our best shows.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Do you want to talk about
that
your
way?
books?
I can check his stuff out too.
Do you want to talk about your books before you leave?
Well, just real quick. And speaking of, I won't take that long. I just wanted to say, what's interesting is, remember when the United States, a couple or a few weeks ago, they were talking about banning electronic devices coming from other countries into the United States, and they were like, in the media, they were like, well, you better get your paperback novel ready because you can't bring your smartphones or your readers, and well, that, and also what I experienced today, and I was telling Wolfman Michael this, Mike, sorry. Behind the scenes, my laptop actually crashed. I literally had zero space to operate my laptop. And I was thinking, I have a lot of ebooks, a lot more than my paperback novels. And I was thinking, all these ebooks I'm writing, I do have 4 paperback novels, a couple of them novellas. But what happens if for some reason, and this may run into what Ronnie's even talking about, what if, society crashes or something?
The Carrington event. What if we have the Carrington event?
I would have nothing to show for if all my books were ebooks. So I want to take, I have a collection, it's called E-Normal, 10 paranormal ebooks online. Just look it up real quick. I'll let you guys look it up. Joseph Moore, Twitter. And so what I'm in the process. I already contacted a local publisher. I'm waiting to see if they've accepted it or not. I'm going to try to take my ebooks, and specifically I'm beginning with my paranormals. It's a collection of all my paranormal ebooks, and I want to have them published as paperback. Because seriously, I was thinking, what if something happens in society in general, like what you're saying, Ronnie, or just, it'd be kind of nice for people to have that in their hands. I do have a few paperback novels already, but all my other stuff would be gone. So I'm going to try to publish all my ebooks in paperback form. Not interested in hardcover, so paperback. And now I told you guys this last time I was on, real quick here. Tom Skerritt, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's an actor. He was in the first movie, Alien. He was at Alien Con in Silicon Valley when I was there back in October for the History Channel's Alien Con. And he had a talk, and I was there, and I asked him directly in front of everybody, how does someone get involved in getting their novels published, their novels turned into a movie? He suggested with the modern times, with the ebooks and with the book industry not doing so well anymore, he suggested that I, go the route of like what they do at the Cannes Film Festival. So, so I'm thinking about trying to turn several, if not all, of my ebooks, and maybe even all my books, and possibly into movies or TV series. I've already talked to someone out of Los Angeles about it a few months ago.
That's groovy, man.
I tried this before a long time ago. It didn't work out.
So
we'll see. So that's what's new for me.
Hang on.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Joe there? Joe? Are you there? Uh-oh. Damn.
Well, that's cool. Hopefully he'll connect with me on Twitter, because I'd like to check his stuff out you talked about too.
We had a call, and I'm just trying to patch it in. That's groovy, and you, as long as we got 14 minutes left, 15 minutes. So, as long as you get your website out, and his books are awesome. I'd like to tell everyone his books are really cool.
Well, thank you.
Very
Thank you,
intellectually stimulating. Some of the ideas are just wild. Like even if you're just into like feeling colors, like you come up with that in your book. Well, it's actually something that we have people on. There's actually a name for it. People that feel colors.
What
Just
you know,
set the
and when you what you said
It's
a few seconds ago,
7:47,
Michael.
by the way. 7:47.
Oh, what? Okay.
Is Joe there? Joe, are you there?
Oh, sorry.
Did you call me back?
Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, you wanted another question for the guest?
No.
Damn. I thought you wanted to get back in here, Joe.
No. I just told him I'd ask my question for me, and I'd take it off the air about what he thought about Hermeticism.
Oh, Hermetics or something? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and philosophy, because honestly, I believe if the religions would evolve into a more philosophical thing, and if we only had, philosophers and atheists, then, and I mean, true philosophers understood the symbolism of the myths and stuff. They didn't actually really believe in them. Some did, but most didn't. But if we just had philosophers and atheists, or scientists and philosophers, we wouldn't have none of this shit that's going on today in the world.
Well,
Zero.
I do think we still would have I do, Joe. If I may, Joe, I do believe we still have conflict. I'm thinking of when it's just I agree with you in the sense that it wouldn't be as bad. The reason, as an example, I'm thinking of the former Soviet Union. They were officially an atheist state, but of course, everybody knows the Russian church is very powerful in the Russian culture. Everybody knows this.
Okay, I want to ask something.
But officially, they were atheists. And look at the stuff that Joseph Stalin. Some people say that he killed more than Hitler during World War II. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. Something like 40 million people supposedly. I don't know how true those figures are. But the point is, I'm not quite sure if Joseph Stalin. Someone can correct me on this. I'm not sure if he was actually atheist or not. But the point is, it's an atheist state.
Okay.
And there still was problems.
Joe.
So it's not. Anytime you're dealing with human beings, you're going to have conflict.
Joe, I got to interrupt. I got to interrupt. Joe Roop.
Sure.
Who's coming on is there someone coming on at 7, right? 10 minutes on the network.
Shift Happens is going to replay. I don't think they're going to go live though, so it's a replay.
Okay,
but
if we want to go,
why are you wanting to go into 7 o'clock?
Well, maybe. I'm thinking this is going on. We could keep going.
How long has this show been on so far?
Almost 3 hours.
5 o'clock Eastern.
3 hours.
Almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
now.
3 hours.
Yeah, we could cut it.
You might want to ask our guest first.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's true. Well, first, you're on the air. I thought I'd ask you first because otherwise there's no point in asking the guest.
True.
Welcome to podcasting, audience. This is real. This shit's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I promised the other host that I would play their replays just like I promised you
shut
at
down in 10.
times. So I got to keep that.
Okay. All
no
right.
problem.
We're going to shut down in 10. All right. It's been great, though. The discussions that's just getting more and more powerful here. Anyways, I got the name.
And I want to say this real
wait a
quick,
minute.
Michael. I
it's
didn't
called
mean to
synesthesia.
come across so strong earlier.
Synesthesia is the term for someone who can feel colors. Now, I remember back when I was a kid, it was more of a paranormal thing, but now they have a scientific name for people that can feel colors with their hands. I'm
gonna have to research that, and then also the Hermetics. I've heard it, and the Zeitgeist. I have to research more of those. Those are 3 things I need to research more for myself.
Yeah.
Hey, Joseph.
You guys can keep going on Spreaker if you want.
Yeah.
It's your show, Wolfman.
Yeah, I might just keep going on Spreaker. Everyone listening, I'll just go on to Spreaker after. If Joseph is willing, then we'll just keep on going.
Sure.
And I'll just reboot my. So if anyone's listening, all you have to do is just when it transitions from, if you're in Eastern Standard Time, it'll be 8:00. And just all you have to do is just reboot your page, refresh your page.
Arizona 5:00.
Yeah, it's in 10 minutes, so just refresh your page on Spreaker and you'll get us back.
I have a question for Joseph.
Yes, Darren.
When you're writing your fiction books, do you have God in your books? Do you like to explore the fantasy of a world with God?
Ironically, I hardly ever write about that, but a couple of times I have. The first, I'm trying to do a better job being succinct, so I'm trying to think how I should say it. Okay, 2005, my second novel came out. It's called, I already mentioned it earlier today. It's called The Solar Bridge, The Unintended Consequences of Time Travel, yada, yada. The Dr. Patrick McLean, the protagonist of this novel, time-traveling novel, he's actually agnostic. Basically, I interjected my agnosticism at that time.
0,
it was before
1,
I became a full-fledged
0, 3, 0, 9, 1, 3 is not available.
Okay, I got it.
So that's probably the most I've ever interjected anything about religion. The other times it's just, maybe in passing, like in one sentence, but remember, as an atheist, I don't wake up thinking about, let's see, what is it that Christians and Muslims and Jews and Buddhists, what is it that they're thinking of? I just wake up, I don't pray. It's just, religion or faith, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, it's just not a central part of my existence. So I don't walk around thinking about what religious people or spiritual people think. But I have touched upon it. But I'm writing from I'm not even writing from the viewpoint as an atheist, to be honest with you, Darren. I'm just writing characters about situations they're in, and every now and then something is like, oh, maybe it'd be a good idea to put in something about religion here, and that's about it. I hardly even talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I want to read one of your books. How long are most of them? Are they?
Well, thank you.
You said novellas?
I would suggest you try my ebooks first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You can go to smashwords.com, or you can go to Inkit. That's a little bit more. This Inkit is like ink, INK, but it has, and then it, but it's spelled with 2 T's. So Inkit with 2 T's and then .com. That's a better format, actually. It's more of a single scroll and beautiful pictures and stuff. But yeah,
cool,
I suggest ebooks. Just sample. Most of them are free.
Wow. Okay.
And I appreciate you saying that, Darren.
And you can order. You have 4 books too that are in paperback.
Yes, I do. Actually, 2 of them are full-fledged novel. I told you about the time traveling one, and then Astropia, which is a book. It's called the Lunar Series. I have 3 books. The first one is Lunar Legends, and you can see it on Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com, put in Joseph Moore, you'll see it. Lunar Legends is first. Astropia is book 2 of the Lunar Series. And then the one that came out last year is called Visitors.
We got 5 minutes left. We got 5 minutes left.
In other words,
folks.
just go to
Ronnie?
What's the
Amazon.com.
No, wait a minute. Ronnie's still there. Ronnie, do you have any more questions for the guest?
Oh, I didn't know he was still
5
there.
minutes left.
I'm listening to what he has to say. I'm very interested. I was an atheist for years, and I wasn't as near a nice atheist as he is. It used to piss me off just to drive by a church. And
oh wow.
But I believe in God now. And
wow, that's different.
The way I came to believe in God was I challenged God to show me that He exists.
Yeah.
And I boldly challenged Him, and He boldly showed me.
Well, watch out.
How did you do that?
It's interesting. Your premise is to.
I want to hear how he did it.
You assume that there was a God to even talk
to. Okay, for
So that
47.
shows that you had a bias towards the monotheistic belief that most Christians,
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I mean, I'm just saying it's telling.
I want to hear it, Ronnie.
I would like to challenge if any gods. Plural,
okay, I want to hear what Ronnie. We have 5 minutes left. Let's hear what Ronnie has to say. What made him change?
Okay.
Well, they challenged. They asked me if I'd ever looked for God, and I was in an alcohol rehab center, and I was trying to get well, and I told them, hell no, I don't believe in God. And they said, well, have you ever looked? Have you ever tried to make contact with God? And they were talking about, how wrong that was for me just to pronounce to the world there wasn't a God, even though I never took the time to look. And so we were doing what they call a third step prayer upon this hill, and I said, ask God. I said, if you're real, I need you to let me know. And this dove flew out of the trees and flew right above my head and landed on a cross above my head. And then
so what do you mean a cross?
I wasn't willing to admit because my mind was like, well, there's birds everywhere out here. It's probably just random happening. And then I said, God, if that bird was really your sign, I need you to give me another sign. And believe it or not, he pooped on my shoulder.
That's awesome.
I remember when I was about 5 years old, a bird pooped on my face.
I stood up and I looked up at the clouds.
Does that mean
thunder
God
rolled
exists?
across the sky.
Wow, that's weird.
Ronnie, I don't know if you heard that, Ronnie. I had a bird poop on my face when I was like 5 years old, when I was walking. Does that mean God exists because a bird just happened to poop on my face?
Yes, you should take that and run with it. Yeah.
If there was a God, maybe.
I agree. You got to ask God.
It had to be.
God, God made our bodies to poop.
For you to share that with us,
God made our bodies to poop. He did.
All the earth knows
Goddess,
that
the great.
I challenged God. I said, "Show me. Prove to me. Prove to me you exist." And he did.
Oh, how about all these sigils that we use? Like, I don't understand. Why do they work?
For me to believe, that's what it took.
Why does it all work? Why do the magic symbols work? Why does all the magic symbols work, Joseph? Why do they work? Why do they work for me?
Well, they don't work. I haven't seen them work.
Joe, do they work for you?
But I just find it interesting, Ronnie, if I can, real quick.
What you're talking about,
did you try to see if other gods exist, Ronnie?
Okay, say it again.
We don't know what you're talking about.
Did you challenge the other gods? Did you try to see, like, there are various pagan gods, both in Europe and Africa, and there are other notions of gods besides the monotheistic version of the Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
Did you try to challenge those other gods? that other people believe?
I leave that open to God. I just know that He's God and I'm Ronnie, and He can be whatever the hell He wants.
All right.
And I can be whatever.
We can do whatever we want.
I know it may not be a religion, but
we are gods. Have you guys watched the show Legion yet? Legion. You check it out.
And it's got me by so far.
Yeah, Legion, man. That's a cool show, man.
You really liked it?
Legion is real, man. That shit is real.
There are cameras.
You're talking about the one in Diner, right? With the angel?
No, the Legion is it's a Marvel thing. It's on I think FX channel.
Oh, you mean the series?
Yeah, it's a series. Yeah, and it's a series about psychics that can actually change reality.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I used to think Bionic Man and Bionic Woman were real too.
You guys never had it happen to you yet, where you phase out and then pop in, and you're in a different spot.
Oh,
you're not where you were before. The last thing you remember was 2 hours ago.
Kind of like Beam Me Up Scotty, like they did in Star Trek.
This has got to happen to you.
That way.
One day, maybe, you'll be unlucky enough to have it happen to you. And it's not fun, let me tell you.
I gotta go get cigarettes for you. I'll be back. Cigarettes. Bye.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network or anyone affiliated. There will be mature and possibly immature content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.
Welcome to the Monster Castle Radio Show. For the extreme paranormal listener. And here is your host, the Wolfman, Mike.
This is where the real freaks hang out, alright, yeah.
Fantastic, baby. Wow. It's a good thing that Igor woke me up, man. Oh, man. Wolfman slept in. What a guy, man. I can't believe it. All right. So, tonight, I think I'm going to have to remind everyone not to sleep in because TuneIn Radio if you go to tuneinradio.com, you can get an app on your cell phone, and it actually has an alarm, so you can wake up to the show. You can go to KTLK, thefringe.fm, and you can set that as your favorite on TuneIn Radio, and then set an alarm to wake you up with the show.
Wake up!
Oh, shit, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, whoa, yeah. Are we on yet, Jeff?
We're on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Far out of groovy, man. All right.
On like Donkey Kong.
Okay. So.
That was macaroni and cheesy, man.
Without further ado. Oh, we are on. Did you hear that?
I heard it.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the news with Adam Watt.
Oh, yeah. The Mandela Effect. More proof of parallel universes? As a follow-up to a different post on this particular website, yesterday I found myself over at the subreddit R Glitch in the Matrix, and wouldn't you know it, the top post over there is something called the Mandela Effect. This is the apparent name for the phenomenon, like the Bernstein-Bears problem.
That's Stainy Bears. Bernstein Bears, man. Come on.
Bernstein. Yeah. And in which we remember something contrary to reality. Exploring it further, I found the name coined by Fiona Broom. Stems from the absurd number of people who seem to remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, and not at his home in Johannesburg in 2013. In fact, there's even a subreddit dedicated to this kind of stuff at Our Mandela Effect, and you can read Broom's own website on the subject at mandelaeffect.com. Other examples of this effect include a portrait missing from the universe of Henry VIII, in which he's holding a turkey leg. Yeah. New Zealand being in a different location, and perhaps strangest of all, the color chartreuse being something other than yellow-green. You can check out Broom's full list of anomalies at the link that I'll be linking in the chat room here. Alternate time streams or false memories. However, the problem with something like the Mandela Effect is that just because you can hear something or even see something, that doesn't mean it's true. Sometimes we read something incorrectly or experience false memories. Sometimes we're told something, especially by the news media, that's incorrect. We assume it's true, but because why not, and go about our business. then when later we find out that Nelson Mandela has only recently died, or New Zealand is in a different location on the map, or the Bernstein Bears are actually the Berenstain Bears. This information clashes with what we thought we knew, and if enough people are misinformed about the same topic, I imagine that's when we run into the so-called Mandela effect. In other words, that's a roundabout way of saying sometimes we're wrong. But that's a boring way to look at things, isn't it? As I said before, this is an interesting phenomenon, regardless of whether you want to ascribe to parallel universe or false memories. The brain is a tricky thing, and the universe is trickier. Explore the possibilities and draw your own conclusions.
All right. What do you think, Adam? What do you remember from that? Actually, I remember him getting sick, or something happened to him in prison, but not dying. I remember something happened. Well, he was imprisoned, I think. He didn't
27
die.
years, man. 27 years.
Yeah.
First president of South Africa. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he got like a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when did he actually die?
Can you guys hear me?
No.
Okay. That's okay. I'm used to that. I couldn't even hear myself earlier. But hey, what do you remember personally? What do you guys remember?
Man, I remember him dying like in the 90s.
Yeah, see, I remember him being imprisoned. I think that's
he was imprisoned, and he died in prison.
Oh, I remember him getting sick or something like that, but not dying.
Yeah.
I don't remember him dying. I remember it was on the news, something about him getting sick or something, but not dying. I don't remember that part.
All right, who do we have today?
All right, hang on. Let's see. I believe we may have
This
Jeff.
is Jeff the Grey, co-host of Monster Castle.
We got Jeff the Grey
on the KTLK digital broadcasting.
That's not me.
Okay.
Who did that?
Well, I thought. Oh yeah,
It's a Shroud of Turin night.
ooh. And we have J.R. Watts coming right at ya. J.R. Watts, come on down, baby. You are the next guest on Monster Castle Paranormal. Are you there? Are you there,
Hello,
J.R.?
how
are you? All right, man. Can you dig it? Fantastic. I hope everybody's clued in that the Wolfman was sleeping and Igor had to wake him up because he forgot to set his stupid alarm. So next time we're going to use TuneIn Radio app because it has a built-in alarm system. Right on. I didn't even know we could do that, guys. We can actually, you can wake up to your favorite show or network that's on the TuneIn Radio app.
That's
and it's
pretty
free. Cool. It's free, too.
What? Like, doesn't cost you zero? Like nothing?
No, you can still
download it?
You can still pay one of those if you want.
Oh, okay.
You throw JR some money and buy a book off him, right, JR?
Please.
All right, can you tell us a bit about yourself, sir? And he's from New York. He's an author, and you've been studying. And you're, not only that, actually, can you fill us in?
Sure. I lived and worked in the New York City area for the better part of 3 decades. I'm a former government investigator, intelligence analyst, and code breaker. And I was also someone who had researched the Shroud of Turin for about 20 years. And in 2012, I launched a cryptologic research project involving cryptography, code breaking, cryptanalysis in respect to what the Bible might have to say covertly about the Shroud of Turin. Now, the Shroud, as we know it, has been labeled the Shroud of Turin since the 15th century, when the cloth was brought to the northern Italian city of Turin, to the Catholic Church by the French Catholics. Before that, in the Middle Ages, the shroud was also known as the Mandalion and the cloth of Edessa, or the image of Edessa. In the days when the early Christians were forming the first Christian churches following the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the shroud was probably simply known as the image of Jesus. Paul the Apostle called it in his shroud codes in the book of Colossians. He called the shroud the image of the invisible God.
Hey, I got a question before you keep on going.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, before you get into all this evidence that you have, what is what's your personal belief about the shroud?
I have come to believe it really is the genuine burial cloth that covered the body of Jesus of Nazareth in an empty tomb for 3 days and 3 nights over the Passover in the first century, as described in the Gospels in the New Testament.
So is our timeline, do you think, accurate as far as if this is year 2017? Was Christ born 2017 years ago, or how does that timeline work?
We're going by the Gregorian calendar, which was only created about 2017 years ago. I mean, before that, obviously there was ancient history. The Earth is much, much older than the year 2017. The Jewish rabbis, their belief, based on their forms of Kabbalah and what they see in the Old Testament, they believe that the actual year is much older than 2017. They believe that the year is, I think, 5777, which is more than twice the age of the Earth than what you get with the date of 2017. 2017 is a total misperception as far as the actual year.
Really? I had no idea. I thought it was maybe, 20, 30 years off, not twice, 2,000 or 3,000 years off.
God knows how many times the calendar was reinvented throughout the history of mankind. They say that the Jews and Christians believe that King David lived about 1,000 years before Jesus of Nazareth was born. But the question is, from the time of Adam and Eve to the time of King David, what length of years went by? I don't think anybody really knows exactly. I don't think there's any way to actually calculate that. But that really is up for conjecture. I mean, you throw in the dinosaurs and the extinction of the dinosaurs. This planet is probably trillions of years old. Who knows really how old it is? It's a planet of mystery, that's for sure. Right.
So, so we really don't know how long ago, but now we kind of got that established. What? When would you say the first time, besides the shroud being over Jesus, when was the next time after that it was in the history, or when was it mentioned? Is there? Can you give us that?
It's fascinating. When I did this research, this turned out to be a 5-year research project, which I had no idea was going to end up being 5 years long. But initially, when I first started in 2012, I began finding secret codes in the New Testament right away about the shroud. Once I applied what I had learned as an intelligence officer and a code breaker to the Bible and to what I knew about the shroud, it was as though a veil had been removed from my eyes, and I was able to see into another room with respect to what had been there within the Bible all along. And I'm not a theologian. I never gone to a religious school. I'm not part of the established clergy. In fact, those people, the priests, the pastors, the reverends, and so on, they have remained blind to the shroud codes in the Bible simply because they're not code breakers. They're not cryptologists. They may be trained in theology and they may know the Bible very well. But don't forget also there are various forms of the Bible, all kinds of different translations. I would have been burnt at the stake in the Middle Ages for attempting to do what I did do in the second decade of the 21st century. And that is...
Hey, we can still do that, man.
Well, yeah.
Igor loves doing
forward.
that. We
Get the
actually,
marshmallows.
sometimes we electrocute people too, man. And far out.
So apart from this, you don't mind if I ask you, what is your, like, do you have a personal religious belief?
Hey, listen, I was an atheist for a very long time. I was not religious growing up. And when I was a teenager, someone gave me a Bible when I was 17 or 18 as a gift. And the first book I turned to was the book of Revelation because it was probably one of the most fascinating books in the Bible. It read like a science fiction story.
Do you,
yeah, okay.
Was it revealing?
What's that?
Was it revealing? Bad pun.
Very hard thing to read. The Bible I always found to be very difficult to read. You lose your train of thought quite often.
I get it. Revelations. Good one, Adam. Sorry.
Even the Revelation is very hard to...
Yeah.
Is there a lot of reading between the lines, is what you're saying?
In Revelation?
Or, I mean, yeah, is it more reading between the lines, or is it like, are you decoding what you're reading?
Well, you know what? The thing I've come to learn about Bible prophecy, and the book of Revelation is virtually all Bible prophecy of the future. But the thing I learned about many Bible prophecies is that they are codes. They're secret codes. And not all secret codes are Bible prophecies, but many prophecies found in the Bible are actually written as an open form of code. It's what cryptologists and code breakers at the CIA and the NSA call jargon code, and null ciphers. A null cipher, it's also known as a concealment cipher. It's an ancient form of encryption where the plain text is mixed with a large amount of non-cipher material. And today it's known as steganography. And that can be used to hide a ciphertext within a plain text. But the plain text has to be a lot more words than what the ciphertext is. Otherwise, the ciphertext has nowhere to hide. It's like if you wanted to find a place to hide yourself, if somebody was chasing after you, it would be more wiser of you to hide in a department store with many different rooms and departments rather than a telephone booth. Although they don't even make telephone booths anymore.
Yeah, they do. I've seen a few.
So
right?
you'd be screwed to be a superhero that has the fast change thing, and there ain't no more.
Can you tell us, like, more or less follow like where the shroud has been, like a history of where it's been, and how it finally got to Turin?
Well, the shroud has two different histories. What we know about the shroud and what we don't know about the shroud. What I was able to do with the shroud codes in the Bible, which is the title of my book.
Oh, first, can I ask you one?
Show that secret history of it.
Have you actually seen the thing physically?
Not the original, because you would have to travel to northern Italy to see it by the Italian Alps in the city of Turin. And even then, you can only see it for a brief period of time after waiting for hours and hours online outside the cathedral. However, I do have life-size replica copies of the shroud that I have in framed frames. Now, the shroud itself is a 14-foot, 3-inch long burial cloth. 14 feet, 3 inches long. It covered the front and rear body of Jesus. What they did was they placed Jesus' body on one end of the shroud. When it was in the tomb, they laid the shroud out. The shroud is about 3 feet, 5 inches wide. So they laid his body on one end of the shroud. They anointed the body. They covered it with 100 pounds of sweet spices and herbs. And that was to ward off the smell of the decay of death. Because when a person dies, if they're not, like you go to a wake at a funeral home, the body has been prepared.
Right.
I
have a lot of experience with
I like rubbing herbs all over myself when I stink too, man. What kind of herbs? Ooh, yeah.
Well, they took 100 pounds worth of sweet-smelling spices to
sweet
ward off
grass,
the
man.
stench of decay. So, and then what they did was they pulled the remaining 7 feet and inch and a half left of the shroud. They pulled the remaining part of that cloth over the top of Jesus' body, and they bound it in the midsection where the waist would be with a strip of cloth, and sealed the tomb with a large rock and left it there for 3 days and 3 nights, at which time the image of his body replicated onto the cloth itself. In those days, there was no artificial way to replicate an image of a man on a cloth, unless you were to do it, maybe if you were to paint or dye an image with paint or ink. But I was just talking to Dr. John Jackson, who was the leader of the 1978 Shroud of Turin research project, and he's a physicist. And he told me just last week, there is no paint on the shroud. There never has been paint or dye or ink of any kind. It is not a drawing and it is not a painting. It is an image, and this is, again, the fascinating thing about these shroud codes. The wordplay in the New Testament, Paul called it the image made without hands. The image made without human hands is what he actually was trying to allude to, because it is evident that this image is a miraculous image. There is no scientific explanation as to how that image got on the cloth. And there have been all kinds of theories, but they're just nothing more than conjecture. In 1988, the world was deceived by 3 British professors who claimed to have carbon dated the shroud to no later than the late 20th century, early part of the 13th century. But that was bull. That was a total fabrication, a fraud, and a hoax.
Now, why do you think they would try to deceive people?
Because they were paid off to do that. They were bribed more than $1.5 million to debunk the shroud by a group of anonymous benefactors who paid them over $1.5 million, not to prove the shroud is a genuine mystery,
Illuminati,
but to disprove it, to debunk it, and that was by using carbon dating. So someone had a motive to use the so-called, and at that time it was a new form of scientific testing, carbon dating. In the 1980s, it was only around for about 9 or 10 years, and was still more theoretical than anything else, carbon dating. As far as, I mean, they attempted, various scientists have attempted to carbon date objects that were no more than a couple of hundred years old, and they came back with false flag dates of thousands of years old. Conversely, other researchers have tested objects that they knew for a fact were thousands of years old, and yet the carbon date results only indicated a date that was only a few hundred years old. So to put blind trust and blind faith in the so-called science of carbon dating is makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's I don't know, several other types of dating that they use. They can use radioactive. They can use a potassium argon dating. Or they can use a uranium lead dating. I mean, there's much more types of dating, I guess, sciences that they can use besides just carbon dating. Like uranium decomposition dating. So that in itself just says that they were able to trick people, and and here we are now with the truth.
you have to ask yourself, who would have sponsored these British professors?
Illuminati.
Well, who had the most to gain? As an investigator, you always look to see who has the most to gain. Who was the most likely culprits?
The Pope.
Now, in this case, in the 1980s, carbon dating was not an established scientific curriculum on college campuses. It was something that was so new that college campuses at first stayed away from incorporating carbon dating into its scientific curriculum. In other words, there were no classes you could take in carbon dating, and no universities had scientific laboratories with carbon dating equipment. However, once they used carbon dating to debunk the shroud, it opened up an avalanche of interest in carbon dating in the late 1980s, and before you knew it, university after university around the world embraced carbon dating because why? It actually helps to promote Darwinism and Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, the origin of species, which on its own merit opposes the biblical line of thought of that God created the world in 7 days.
Yeah, I'd say the problem with the carbon dating is it's for organic material. It doesn't apply to everything. So the problem is if it's not an organic material, as in like something that was living, then it doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, not only that, my understanding is that to properly carbon date an object, to get a true estimate for its age, you would have to find something that has been sealed away in a cave or underground, or something that has not been exposed to the elements and to the air for a very, very long time. Now, with the Shroud of Turin, that has been exposed every year since I would say the 13th century, well, even before that. But the Catholic Church was notorious for taking it out several times a year to have memorials around Christmas and Easter. They would take the shroud out. A dozen priests would hold it from end to end with their hands. So their DNA, if they were sweating, if it was a warm day out, or if they happened to be sweating, the sweat from their palms would transfer to the shroud. Some people would kiss the shroud. Lots of these people would kiss the shroud like they would kiss a cross, maybe in moments of prayer or whatever. Sometimes the shroud was pressed onto people who were dying and who needed a miracle, and who needed a healing, who needed to be healed from a sure death. Somebody was dying of cancer or had a serious injury that was life-threatening. Lots of times the shroud was even brought onto the deathbed of somebody who was dying and laid over that person's body on their bed.
So all that touching and moving, and can you tell us like what kind of damage has been done to it?
Well, the theory behind carbon dating is that particles of carbon are in the air. Now they're microscopic. You won't see them. You won't even know that they're there. But their theory is that the atmosphere contains carbon, and it attaches itself to everything that it comes into contact with. But as time passes by, that whatever amount of carbon is on an object will dissipate with time, and therefore their theory is that they could take a piece of that object and then carbon date it, and to even carbon date it, it destroys the object through fire and high temperatures, so nothing's left but ash.
Right.
So
the the way the carbon dating works is they take there's different isotopes of carbon 12, carbon 13, 14, but the carbon 14 that's in the atmosphere, it actually gets broken down into nitrogen 14, and that half-life is about 57,000 years. However, the way it's actually, it only, like you said, it only works if it's in in an isolated, sealed area. Because what happens is the cosmic rays that are bombarding the upper atmosphere, they're the ones that actually break down that carbon 14 to the nitrogen 14. So if it's been exposed, then there's no way to actually determine how old it is. Is that right?
Right, and there is a undisputed history of the shroud from about the year 1349 through the present time. An undisputed documented history that's on record from France to Italy.
So it's been in France, it's been in Italy. Do you know other places that's actually traveled specifically?
The Knights Templar, the Crusaders, who were not just monks of a certain order in France, but these guys were also mercenaries. They were a mercenary army, and they were appointed by the King of France to go fight in the Crusades. They fought for over 200 years in the Crusades. Generations of Knights Templars. Now, these guys were not forbidden to marry. They didn't have to marry, but a lot of them did, and they had kids, and their sons would take their place when they came of age, and they would become Knights Templar and go fight in the Crusades. As a spoil of war, the shroud was brought from the Middle East to France, but it was secretly smuggled by the Knights Templar. They didn't even tell the King of France about it. He owed them a ton of money. They were also bankers, the Knights Templar. They were very well-educated men, and they were into all kinds of industry and business and banking. The King of France, King Philip, owed them a ton of money. He found out that they had built a chapel in the countryside, and that chapel was devoted to the worship of an image of a man that they had on cloth said to be Jesus Christ, the image of Jesus Christ. But they were arrested in the dead of night, all the Knights Templar, and they
When did this happen?
Charged. What's that?
When did this happen?
That was in the 13th century, around about 1349.
Okay.
Between 1340, now they didn't kill the Knights Templar right away. They tortured them for many months, and even well over a year. They were trying to torture them into signing confessions of blasphemy and heresy and idol worship and sorcery.
I
now,
heard somebody say torture. Somebody said torture? Should I come? Wolfman, should I come?
Shut up, Igor. Get out of here, man. Go back down to the dungeon, man. Oh, sorry, guys, man. That's
right.
Igor. You said torture, and he got all excited.
Well, when you think of the Spanish Inquisition and the different kinds of devices that they had for torturing people back then, they had the same things in France in the 13th century.
Could they electrocute people?
What's that?
Could they electrocute people back then? Do you think?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that, though.
I don't think they had electricity back then.
Okay, but the Egyptians did. That's okay.
No zapparonis.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? They really didn't need electricity to torture people. I mean, they did a good job with glass and metal and wood and whatnot.
Yeah, they were bored. They didn't have the internet back then, so they had to find something else to occupy their time.
Yeah, they did.
I still think it's cool, man.
Now, so when the Knights Templar were arrested by the King's Guard, they could not find the shroud, and the Knights Templar would not admit to even possessing it. I think they were afraid that if the King of France got his hands on the shroud, he would in some way exploit it or maybe even destroy it. Who knows? But he never got his hands on the shroud, and by killing them, he effectively canceled out his debt that he owed to the Knights Templar.
Oh,
which
well,
was
that makes sense.
Small fortune. Not only that,
That's,
but he grabbed all their property, which was, it was a property grab. He grabbed their life savings, their businesses, everything.
How much would you, in today's value, is there a worth or a price that's put on the shroud?
I don't think so. I mean, that's a good question. I've never heard anybody ask that question. I don't even think anyone's ever really thought to ask that question. I've heard a lot of questions asked about the shroud, but as far as its value,
there has to be a value on it. There's always someone has to say, hey, I'll pay this much for it, or I'll kill for this. Is it worth? Obviously, it was worth people's lives because they were what they were killing for it, right? For power, money.
Well, it's priceless because of the
shroud went underground for 100 years, and then it resurfaced 100 years after the Knights Templar were killed off, and it resurfaced in France 100 years later, in possession of a descendant of the family of the Knights Templar, at that point in time, it was safe for the shroud to become public knowledge. There are so many rumors about it floating around for the better part of 100 years in France and Italy that by that time, 100 years later, people were dying to see it. They were looking forward to seeing it, and that's what happened. And so they built another chapel for it in a different French town, in the town of Leary. I think it was in the town of Leary. It might have been Chamberlain. But anyway, someone set the shroud on fire. So in the dead of night, there was a massive fire in this little chapel. The shroud at that time was folded in several parts and stored in a wooden case that had a lead top to it. The fire was so severe, it made the lead top molten. The lead dripped through the wooden top of the box and started singeing and scorching the cloth of the shroud and burnt it in several areas. But the way the shroud was folded, it was folded in such a way that the face of Jesus, the spear wound to the side of his body, the nail prints in one of his hands, that part of the image was preserved, what the Gospels describe as part of his crucifixion.
Oh, is there
the crown of thorns?
Did they ever
you could still see?
Were they able to determine the blood type?
Whoa.
Yes, they were, because in 1978, the Shroud of Turin Research Project, also known as STURP for short, did blood analysis on the shroud. Here's what they did. When they went to Italy for a week, they were granted access to the shroud 24 hours a day for 5 days. They actually slept on army cots.
That's bloody awesome.
Placed into the same room as the shroud. And it was a group of 40 American scientists. They all came from different backgrounds, different scientific backgrounds. Some were medical people, some were physicists, some were biologists, some were chemists, and other fields or areas of science. Microbiologists. They even had that was brought in a criminal investigator who, and what they did was they basically got tape, forensic tape, and they virtually lifted all trace elements off the top of the shroud, off the exterior of the shroud with this tape, this sticky tape. And they did it in segments. You know, and don't forget the shroud is very long, 7 feet and 3 inches long, and 3.5 feet wide. So they went through a lot of rolls of sticky tape.
Oh, by the way,
tape that maybe a pathologist or a medical examiner might use to gather evidence in the crime scene. And it picks up invisible microscopic traces of things. It picks up hair, blood, skin cells, DNA. Anything that came into contact with the cloth was picked up. And they analyzed under a high-powered microscope various things. And they found blood in the areas where blood should have been. In the areas that were scourged, Jesus was whipped over 120 times, according to what we see on the shroud. Medical pathologist Dr. Richard Buckland from the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office performed an autopsy report based on a life-size image of the shroud that was brought into his laboratory in Los Angeles. They laid out that image on a autopsy table, and based on his visual observation, Dr. Buckland gave a detailed autopsy report, an analysis of how he believed the man on the cloth died. And it was evident from the wounds seen on the shroud that that man, whoever he was, died from those wounds that were evident on the shroud. You're talking about major blood loss, dying of shock, dying of internal trauma, wounds to the head. First of all, crucifixion is a way of slowly forcing the body itself to strangle itself, because if you were to hold your arms straight up in the air while you're standing up, or even if you're sitting down, but if you go in front of a mirror and hold your arms straight up, you'll see your esophagus around your throat tighten, and it'll actually look like a boa constrictor is inside your throat. The muscles inside your throat will constrict and will actually press on your windpipe. Now imagine having your body weight suspended from a cross, having your hands and wrists crucified, nailed to that cross. Now, most artists throughout the ages have drawn, or they painted representations of the crucifixion of Jesus so that his arms are stretched out basically like a capital T, or maybe like a Y, depending on the angle. But shrouded Turin researchers believe that the arms of Jesus were held at dead at the 12th hour. They pulled his hands and arms straight above his head and nailed it to the top part of the cross, so that when he did hang down on the cross, it's like, you know, like you watch a movie where a person is being held up by a bandit with a gun, and they say hands up, and the first thing that goes up is their arms, you know, and they surrender. So that's like what you might call the surrender position, and that's why you see the blood trails from the wrists, where the spikes went into the hands. They exited the back of the wrists, and the blood that leaked out of his arms, that was being pumped from his heart, leaked out in a trail that then led off his elbows. And based on that, what we see on the shroud, that would have been the way his arms would have been in that position on the cross.
I heard that the cross was actually like an X shape that they found out.
They had different kinds of ways of crucifying people. They didn't have just one particular type of cross. Based on what we see on the shroud, though, it was evident that this man was suspended in midair with his arms and hands suspended directly above, due north, above his head.
Yeah.
All right. So.
I was thinking that must have taken a lot of power to make that image. It looks almost 3D. And by the way, kids, you can look at the Shroud of Turin with your 3D glasses.
Well, yeah, it is. Dr. John Jackson and Dr. Pete Schumacher proved in 1976 that the shroud contains three-dimensional properties, which no other two-dimensional image could really have. They used an image analyzer. It was called the VP8 image analyzer. It was said to have been used for the Apollo moon landings. It would analyze photographs that were taken by satellites in space, photographs of the moon surface, and they would feed the photographs into the image analyzer to determine where best they should land the Apollo lunar module. They didn't want to land it on a crevice or in a crater or on the side of a hill. They wanted to land that module on as flat the surface of the moon as they could. And so what the image analyzer does is it analyzes images, photographs, to determine image contrasting, the depth relief. It looks at the shadowy areas of a photograph and determines whether or not the highs and lows of a photograph. And Dr. John Jackson happened to be interested in the shroud at the time. He was a captain in the Air Force at the time, and they analyzed some pictures of the shroud with the VP8 analyzer, and they were shocked to see that it produced a three-dimensional image of the shroud photograph. Now, they tried to analyze other photographs of images of people in the VP8, and the images come out all scrambled. They don't come out as detailed as the photographs with the shroud. So they knew that the shroud photograph, the image, is a very, very unique, mysterious image that cannot scientifically be explained. The best they could do is come up with some theories, which is just theoretical anyway. Here's the thing about my research, how it contrasts to their research. For decades, they've used all kinds of shroud researchers have used all kinds of different scientific forms of testing the shroud through microscopic analysis, photochemical analysis, carbon dating analysis, and biological analysis, forensic analysis, and other forms. No one ever thought to use or to test the shroud through the science of cryptology. And believe me when I tell you, science itself cryptology itself is a science. It's a science unto itself. Any code breaker working at the CIA, the National Security Agency, or the Department of Intelligence, or any code breaker or cryptanalyst or intelligence analyst who works for the Mossad or for M16 or M15, they will tell you that cryptology is a science. There are so many different forms of cryptology in existence since the ancient days that it's mind-boggling.
So you are actually affiliated with the NSA's National Cryptologic Museum and the Journal of Pattern Recognition Research. Is that right, sir?
Yes, right. I'm a member of the American Cryptogram Association. I belong to the International Associations for Cryptologic Research. I'm with a member of the Pattern Recognition Society, and I'm a member of the Association of Former Intelligence Officers.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Wolfman.
Oh, yeah.
What I did was I used a battery of code-breaking methods normally in use by these intelligence agencies. I use methods that are commonly used by cryptologists and code breakers, such as cluster analysis, data mining, frequency analysis, pattern recognition, detection of graphical deception, data mapping, quantitative data analysis, camouflage cipher analysis, correspondence analysis, deciphering constrained word patterns and things like that. All these things are used by the CIA and the NSA to decode secret messages and to break codes, to crack codes. So I
guess we're going to jump to break here. Can you hold on to that question, Jeff?
Sure.
And looks like what's going on? Here we go. Is it working?
Push the button. You got to push the button, Mike.
I did. I have a problem. What the hell?
Push it harder.
Okay, ask the question. I don't know what's going on. I got a technical problem here.
So, kind of like a little off to the side here. What is there any, I guess, evidence in the Islamic belief about the Shroud of Turin? Or
well, the thing about Muslims is that while they refer to Jesus as a prophet, they don't believe that he is the Son of God. They don't believe that he was divine. In fact, they believe that Muhammad, their prophet, they believe that he's much more elevated than Jesus of Nazareth could ever be.
Well, that's because they don't. A lot of the current.
What happened?
Modern-day Muslims aren't necessarily followers of the Islamic belief, and they're more so Mohammedans than they are Muslim. Is that right?
I don't know. You have to ask them. I mean, I did read the Quran one time in my life, and I read it in the mid-1980s, and I couldn't. I said to myself, I don't buy this. First of all, the Muslims, many of whom are Arab, they're not going to follow Jesus, who was Jewish. Muslims won't read the Bible because it was written by Jews, and so they are ignorant of what the Bible has to say about anything. In fact, in Islam, it's forbidden by Muslims to even read the Bible because it was written by Jews.
Your problem. We will be right back on KTOK, thefringe.fm. All right, guys. Have a break, man. Enjoy Peter Murphy. Socrates the Python. All right.
That is or means believe ain't enough. Believe ain't enough. The oracle of your age points towards the word psychological. You may freeze, you may fear, you may wince and not hear. You can sick at the heart when I say God is one. Does God the word make you real? And I mean real. But it isn't God the Father, Son, or Holy One, but the key to your age. Get it together and listen. With all the books on the shelf, all the wisdom. With all the books on the shelf, all the wisdom. yin and bloody and hatha yoga. Bennett, Gurdjieff, Jesus, Old Testament and New Libraries full of keys. Libraries full of keys. Where's your life? Socrates, Pythagoras, yin and bloody and hatha yoga. Bennett, Gurdjieff, Jesus, Old Testament and New Libraries full of keys. Libraries full of keys. Gurdjieff, Jesus. Gurdjieff, Jesus. Today, Gurdjieff, Jesus. Your problems, Gurdjieff, are not Jesus. Oh God, Gurdjieff, Jesus.
All right. KTLK. .fm the fridge. All right. KTLK.
Jesus. Gurdjieff, Jesus. Gurdjieff, Jesus. Bennett, oracle of your Jesus. Bennett, towards the word. Jesus. Bennett, Gurdjieff, Jesus.
This is the Monster Castle Paranormal Radio Show. We explore the paranormal phenomenon with researchers and skeptics from all walks of life and beyond. Fridays and Saturdays, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, on KTLK, Digital Broadcasting Network, The Fringe.fm. Visit our website at monstercastleparanormal.com.
All right, and we are back on Monster Castle Paranormal. All right, we are just getting started, man. We are just warming up. This is a groovy topic, and Jeff, you're doing a great job. I'm going to let you continue this interview, man.
All right, we're back. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So we were talking about the shit. What were we talking about besides the Shroud of Turin and where it's been? And
Shroud codes.
You know how Christ was
eating pizza.
Guess he was nailed or strung or strapped to the cross.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And there's pictures of the shroud. If you check out hashtag 47Talk, that God of Thunder has posted all kinds of pictures in our chat room on Twitter as well.
So I'm looking at one of these pictures, and it's got, it just makes me wonder, because I'm in the sciences, and I've done a lot of lab research and analyzed stuff, and it's like, how was that impression made on the actual shroud? I mean, what do they know what caused that impression to be imprinted on the shroud itself?
In the shroud codes in the Bible, in my book, it explains that the disciples, especially Paul and Peter, their shroud codes explain that the shroud image of Jesus was made through the power of God. And they said, this is not our doing. It's not an engraving. It's not a drawing. It's not a painting. They actually said this in Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. And this is Paul saying this. This is why when I came on these shroud codes, when I discovered the shroud codes, I didn't believe it. In fact, I disbelieved it. I said, no, what I'm finding here is just a coincidental bunch of words. I'm not going to believe it unless I begin to see patterns of words. And they have to be multiple patterns, and they have to be in great abundance. Otherwise, it wouldn't be enough to make a case in a court of law.
Has this this evidence you've come upon, has it had a significant impact or changed your life?
Well, I mean, it's kept me busy for the past 5 years, and the reason is because the shroud codes are the most significant discovery since the Dead Sea Scrolls, and as startling a discovery as the Bible codes in the Old Testament. If you know anything about the Bible code,